Chapter 51. The First Mission. Inside the first team building. In the past month, I have been selecting talents for the vacant captain position. Captain Yamamoto spoke in a brisk and cheerful tone. The results are quite remarkable. I assume you've also received the notification. Based on the recommendation of Team 13 Captain Yukitake Jushiro. With the express consent of all current captains. Appoint Naruto Uzumaki, the former 3rd seat member of the 13th Division, as the captain of the 7th Division. Appoint Ashine Shiba as captain of the 10th Division. The former deputy captain of the 5th Division, Sosuke Aizen, applied for the assessment, and under the witness of my old man Yamamoto Genri Yusai, the captain of the 4th Division, Ano Hinaretsu, and the captain of the 8th Division, Kiraku Shunsui, passed the qualification test unanimously. I think this person's personality and abilities are sufficient for the job. So, anoint Sosuke Aizen, the former deputy captain of the 5th Division, as the captain of the 5th Division. These are the 3 new captains of the Godai 13. As for the other teams, the Shifunji-Yuan family is still deciding on the captain of the 2nd Division. For teams 3, 9, and 12, no suitable candidates have emerged yet. Captain Yamamoto shouted toward the door. The wooden framed paper sliding door unfolds. 3 people walked in. Shiba is carefree and has a slightly undisciplined attitude. Aizen Sosuke was calm and composed, with his signature gentle smile on his face. Naruto was slightly nervous. If there are suitable candidates, we can recommend them. Captain Yamamoto glanced at the several captains. But no one spoke. In that case, let's break up the meeting. He raised his cane and tapped it on the floor. With a dong sound, Jinraku Shunshui quickly walked out. Captain Uzumaki, please stay. Just when Naruto was about to leave with him, Captain Yamamoto spoke and left him behind. Naruto wondered. After everyone else left, only the vice-captain, Takuchojiro, was left. Captain Yamamoto said gently, Naruto, congratulations on becoming the youngest captain. Naruto was a little nervous. Thank you, Captain. I'm keeping you here because I have an important task for you. Captain Yamamoto waved his hand and got straight to the point. Naruto's eyes lit up. Is it about hunting down Captain Kisuke and the others? Captain Yamamoto paused and looked at him meaningfully. It's the criminals Urahara Kisuke and Shifune Yuruaki. Chun Shui has already told me that this matter will be left to you to handle. I have no objection. The important task to be entrusted to you is another matter. Naruto stood at attention. He always feels a lot of pressure in front of Captain Yamamoto. Especially after liberating Azura. This feeling is magnified several times. The son and sister Yayi's mouth. Maybe it's more than just a metaphor. In the 7th team, the 3rd seat of Komamura's left formation can be called loyal and brave, and he is also quite capable. Captain Yamamoto continued, but for some reasons, he refused to serve as the captain. I need you to solve his problem and convince him to become the captain. Naruto responded, yes, Captain Yamamoto. Then what's his reason? The words were not finished. Captain Yamamoto spoke out, as sharp as a knife, cutting off these words, Naruto, although you are young. But remember who you are now. You are the captain of the 7th team. Although the storm is dramatic, we should move forward courageously. Old man. I won't take good care of you. Hearing this, Naruto showed no dissatisfaction and nodded his head, yes, I understand. Go ahead. Captain Yamamoto waved his hand, I hope you can complete the first mission beautifully. Naruto tilted his head and glanced. Uncle Chun Shui is really right. The captain didn't seem to care much about Captain Kisuke, Yuruaki, and the others escaping. The 7th Division team building. It is in the central area of Seireitei. The architecture is quiet and peaceful. Vice-Captain Katsubaki Baseman was already waiting at the door of the team building. Captain Uzumaki. He greeted. Naruto raised his head and looked at him, I'll keep you waiting. This is a tall and burly man with a square and majestic face. He wears dark red sunglasses that only cover his eye sockets. He has short black hair, but there is a small amount of long hair almost reaching his waist on the back of his head. Looks serious. No, I just arrived. Katsubaki Baseman replied, not looking down on the blonde brat because of his height or age. Although Seireitei is already suppressing the spread of that incident. But for deputy captains and senior officers like them, it is still no secret. That night, this captain of the vortex single-handedly blocked and suppressed the 4 captains and 4 vice-captains who had become virtual. Although they lost their minds and failed to free the Zanpakuto. But this kind of strength is by no means ordinary. The welcome ceremony is ready. Please come with me, Captain Uzumaki. Little Chunren led the way. There are many members of the inner court guard. Naruto met with the chief officers and senior chief officers one by one. The 3-seat Komamura left formation mentioned by Captain Yamamoto is also among them. This is a somewhat eccentric person. The body is taller than Tsubaki Blade Eamon. The spiritual pressure is strong, far beyond the level of vice-captain, and perfectly meets the threshold of becoming a captain. What Naruto cares more about is his dress. His whole head is wrapped in a helmet similar to a kendo protective gear, which is tight and airtight, and there is not even a gap for the eyes and ears. Komamura-sensei. After meeting everyone, Naruto walked in front of Komamura-seijin. Please come with me, I have something to tell you. Komamura-seijin nodded silently. Captain Uzumaki. Walking into a separate room, he greeted softly, excuse me. The voice is consistent with his figure, broad and steady. The captain told me about you. Uzumaki Naruto said softly, I can understand why you don't want to be the captain. He thought of Anoha Naretsu. Thinking of Aizen Sosuke. And remembered Shifunjayu and Yoryuki on the high tower that day. I clumsily imitated their appearance, trying to understand their emotions at that time, and then extracted them and used them at this moment. I am indeed not suitable. Komamura Satsuki shook his head. Now that there is a young talent like Captain Uzumaki who has stepped forward, there is even less need for me to show up. Being able to hold a 3rd seat in the 7th Division and guard the Soul Society and the Captain General. It is already my wish for the rest of my life. I will not ask for more. Naruto smiled, I can feel that you are not against the position of captain. There is something unspeakable that has bound your hands and feet and your heart, so that you dare not take this step. Komamura Satsuki lowered his head. After a while, he whispered, Captain Uzumaki is really perceptive. But He still resisted. Naruto interrupted him, raised his head, and looked at the airtight helmet, although this is the first time we meet and the first time we talk. It feels a bit strange to say this. He raised his hand, scratched his head, and smiled. But no matter what, I am your captain now. If you can, tell me. I will accompany you to solve this trouble. If you really can't do it, I will also help you to completely reject Captain General Yamamoto. Komamura Seijin lowered his head even deeper. Chapter 52. Naruto is very busy. Emotion is something that is invisible and intangible, but can be clearly perceived. Especially people who have been in negative reviews for a long time. They are more sensitive. Komamura Zuogen could sense the thing called sincerity emanating from Naruto. Thank you for your concern, Captain Uzumaki. He said slowly, but I do have a reason why I cannot be the captain. Old man. As he spoke, he raised his hands to support the helmet and took it off. The short hair is fluffy. What was exposed was a dog head. The upper part is brownish red, and below the nose, starting from the mouth and spreading to the chest, there are white hairs. It's an Akita dog. Naruto's eyes went straight. Komamura Zuogen took a deep breath and continued, Captain Uzumaki, you also see that I am not a human being. This kind of appearance should not be shown to others. That's why it's inconvenient for me to serve as captain. Why are you like this? Naruto asked suddenly. Komamura's left formation paused. Naruto gestured, I don't mean anything else, it's just the first time I've seen someone like you in Soul Society. Is there any special reason? Komamura Zuogen nodded, Captain Uzumaki, is he a soul from death and soul burial in reality? Naruto responded, that's right. That's great. That's why Captain Uzumaki doesn't know much about it. Komamura left the formation with emotion, I am from the Wolf Clan from the Soul Society. Our family. It was because he committed great sins in the human world during his lifetime, and was lucky enough not to fall into the void. After being buried by the soul, he fell into the animal realm, so he had such a beast-like human body. Naruto's heart sank. That's it. I thought it was a curse or the effect of a spell. That's exactly why I am. Komamura Zyuogen picked up the helmet and slowly put it on himself again. I have been looked down upon. It's Captain Yamamoto who doesn't alienate me because of his appearance and is willing to take him in and cultivate him. The helmet completely covered his head, and his voice became loud again. I can serve the captain. I am satisfied. I don't dare to ask for more. Showing me like this will only bring more trouble to the captain and the Seireitei. He saluted respectfully, said goodbye and left. Sorry, Captain Uzumaki. Looking at the figure walking away quietly, Naruto was a little distracted. He didn't expect this to be the reason. At this moment, I can feel some of the feelings of Komamura Zyuogen. I was almost like this before. His situation is probably worse than his own. After all, he just bears a notoriety. But the Komamura left formation has the reality of being a dog monster on its head. Not to mention the cause of falling into the animal realm. Naruto was thinking. The man who walked to the door suddenly turned around. By the way, Captain Uzumaki. There is something, please let me correct you. Naruto said The Komamura left formation solemnly said, I am a wolf. Not an Akita. Although he was discriminated against because of his appearance. But race is a serious issue. He doesn't think wolves and dogs are the same species. Naruto scratched his head. Captain Yamamoto really gave himself a big problem to solve. The days after becoming captain are completely different from the days when he held the third position in Team 13. Even if the 7th Division's duty is only to defend the inner court. But there are many events to deal with every day. Within a week of taking office, Naruto became very popular in the 7th team. The shadow clone technique is very useful in ninja battles. But in a death battle, this technique is of no use at all, and may even add negative effects. The battle of the shinigami is the battle of spiritual pressure. Whether it is a sword or a ghost, it requires strong enough spiritual pressure to be effective on the enemy. And the shadow clone technique. It is to divide the spiritual pressure evenly. Quantity is meaningless, no matter how much weak spiritual pressure there is, it cannot harm the powerful spiritual pressure at all. But this technique is extremely useful in handling team affairs. Each shadow clone is a relatively independent individual. After disappearing, the memory will return to its original form. This allowed Naruto to appear in other team buildings and other areas of the Seireitei while reviewing reports within the team. He does almost everything himself. No matter how small the task is, as long as he can lend a hand, he will be happy to do it. This kind of life is a bit tiring. But Naruto enjoyed it quite a bit. He would occasionally have heart-to-heart talks with the Komamura Zyuogen, but this wolf-headed man who always said old man had a very rigid character and only wanted to use empty words, so it was difficult to persuade him. This lasted for half a year. Naruto has adapted to his current status very well. This day, Captain Naruto. Vice Captain Xiao Chun opened the door and walked into the team building. He looked serious. Did something happen? Naruto raised his hand, habitually making new shadow clones. Xiao Chun shook his head. No, my subordinate wants to invite the captain to have a drink with him tonight. I wonder if the captain has time. Me? Naruto blinked. Xiao Chun nodded. Then tonight. Naruto agreed with a smile, see you then. He didn't put his hand down and formed 2 more shadow clones. Since I have to go out to socialize in the evening, the matters at hand must be dealt with as soon as possible. Xiao Chun took a deep look at Naruto, sighed, closed the door and exited. Night. Seireitei Commercial Street, in an izakaya. This wasn't the first time Naruto had returned to a place like this. When they were still in Konoha, he and Xiangrin often broke in order to find Jiraiya. However, the styles of Seireitei's izakaya and Konoha's izakaya are very different. It's quieter here. There is no sense of sensual and erotic indulgence. Captain Uzumaki, this way. Xiao Chun stood up and greeted. Naruto walked over. At that table, a lot of people unexpectedly gathered. There is his own vice captain Xiao Chun. There is also Kurako Shunsui, and Xia Ishine, the captain of the 10th Division. And an orange-haired female Grim Reaper with an unceremonious space in her neckline. Naruto, long time no see. Kurako Shunsui greeted. Naruto nodded with a hint of apology. The team is a bit busy with affairs, and I haven't been able to take time to visit Captain Shunsui. Don't make me sound like a lonely old man. Kyoraku Shunsui was nonchalant, picked up the cup and knocked it on the table, but I'm surprised that you agreed to Zio-kun's invitation. Shiba scratched his head and laughed, does Captain Naruto know how to relax? Then if I come to drink, I won't be criticized by Hyun. Naruto smiled and sat down, holding a glass of wine with some restraint. Captain Naruto, I am Matsumoto Rangiku, 5th seat of the 10th division. You can just call me Rangiku. The orange-haired big sister greeted her cheerfully. Captain Naruto seems to be the first one back. Izakaya. Naruto shook his head, it's not the first time, but it's the first time as a customer. On this point, you should learn from Captain Shunsui. Matsumoto Rangiku hugged Naruto, picked up the wine glass, and took a sip. Don't always stay in the team building. Come out and relax with everyone. Xiao-chun has complained to us more than once. The captain works too hard and leaves these team members too idle. Kyoraku Shunsui smiled and gave Naruto a glass of low-alcohol wine. Don't be so tense, Naruto. It's good to do everything personally. The old man must like a captain like you to death. But a captain who is too responsible will alienate the distance between him and his team members. He said, looking at Xiao-chun with a smile. Chapter 53. Captain. Dignity. Naruto took a sip of the liquid in his cup. The alcohol content is not high and it has a slightly sweet taste. It is a fruit wine suitable for children. After all, I am the captain, and I also have the ability. He said very calmly, do more. That's not the problem. Kyoraku Shunsui raised his hand, held down Naruto's head, and twisted it forcefully. Naruto followed the force and turned his head, his gaze resting on Katsubakeaman. Haven't you noticed that your team members are already dissatisfied? Jinraku Shunsui continued, Vice Captain Xiao-chun invited us to have this drink today, just to discuss this issue with you. Xiao-chun's hand shook and the drink spilled out. Even the sunglasses didn't hide the incredible look in his eyes. What is the leader of the Beijing band doing? No. Just say it openly and honestly. Do you wish you would die early? He tried to remember, but he couldn't think of when and where he had offended the leader of the Beijing orchestra. Ha ha ha. Kyoraku Shunsui succeeded in his prank and laughed, Vice Captain Xiao-chun, don't show such an expression. Naruto is a good boy. He doesn't have the spoiled temper you're worried about. He can listen to suggestions. He also cares about what you think. Katsubaki looked at Naruto. There was no anger on the face of the blonde boy. He stared at himself seriously and asked softly, do you really feel dissatisfied with what I did? Xiao-chun scratched his head, to a certain extent. Captain Naruto takes too many things on himself. Although we are not as powerful as the captain, we are still members of the 7th team. We also want to do what we can. Kyoraku Shunsui patted Naruto on the head, you are the captain, not a parent. You take care of everything, what do they do? Saiba put down his glass with all his heart, the captain will like to see a flawless team. But team members also need to grow. They make mistakes, they get hurt, but that's what makes them strong. We captains. What we can do is not to lend a helping hand when they can't walk, when they are in thorns, heal their injuries, and then watch them continue walking. Matsumoto Rangiku complained, is this an excuse for you, captain, to just let us go and let us do everything? Saiba started fighting haha. Naruto, you are very tired like this. Kyoraku Shunsui swung his wine glass, you must learn to relax. In a place like Seireitei, being too tight is not a good thing. Xiao-chun drank 2 glasses of wine for herself, her face turned red, and her words became more powerful and straightforward, this is from the captain's point of view. In the eyes of us team members, it's a different story. The captain has to do everything personally. Even the little things that seem insignificant. It makes us look incompetent. He paused and looked at Naruto, Captain Naruto, do you know what captain means in the eyes of us team members? Naruto shook his head. It's dignity. Xiao-chun put down the wine glass and said 2 words with great force as if slashing it with a knife. It is the dignity that we must protect at the risk of our lives. This is our value as a team. Naruto looked at him in surprise. This is a very unexpected answer. Dignity. A strange description. But I have only been your captain for half a year. Naruto said softly, just because of my status as a captain, I am so worthy of you. Xiao Chun laughed heartily and interrupted him, Captain Naruto, this is a big mistake. We respect you not because of your status as captain of the 7th Division. Just because you are Uzumaki Naruto. And as Uzumaki Naruto, you happen to become the captain of our 7th team. Naruto held the wine glass. The reason why you respect yourself is just because you are Uzumaki Naruto? Doesn't it have much to do with the identity of captain? This was another answer that surprised him. Matsumoto Rangiku picked up the wine glass, glanced at Shiba Ishine, and sighed heavily, we in the 10th Division are very envious of the 7th Division. Everyone is saying that it would be great if the captain were Uzumaki-sama. Shiba Ishine laughed and scratched his head. Jinraku Shunsui nodded in agreement, I often hear my team members say that. Naruto, you are really an enviable and good captain. Xiao Chun drank, with such an excellent captain, we are under great pressure. But it is with such a good captain that we have the motivation to follow. If we can't catch up with the captain, that's our problem. As he spoke, his expression became more serious, this shows that what we need is more encouragement and experience. Rather than expecting you to take care of us and take care of us like children. Speaking of this, Xiao Chun slammed the table and muttered, speaking of age, Captain Naruto, you are younger than us. Kiraku Shunsui took a sip of wine, and there is a very real problem, Naruto. Naruto turned to look over. Can you protect them all the time? He asked seemingly casually. But Naruto frowned and remained silent for a while before hesitantly shook his head. When they encounter real danger but don't have the power to protect themselves, it's fatal. Kiraku Shunsui thought of something and put down his glass, while you still have the ability to protect them, let them hurry up. Grow up. This way even if a real threat comes. They can also swing knives. Xiao Chun waved his left arm, the beauty of our 7th team is Iris. The flower language of Calamus represents courage. Naruto mused. He didn't drink much wine this night. Shiba Ishine and Kiraku Shunsui took special care of him. After all, he had a minor face and body, and it would be too sinful to drink alcohol. After returning to Division 7, Naruto tried to let go. In his eyes, he handed over some matters that he didn't need to handle by himself to the team members. These team members agreed with smiles and even eagerly accepted the task. After that heart-to-heart talk at the izakaya, little Tsubaki learned how to deal with Naruto. Frankly speaking, this level is not enough, and more things can be released. Naruto listened to his words, let go little by little, and carefully observed the attitude of the team members. They are not disgusted, on the contrary, they are full of energy. Until the end, Naruto sat blankly in the team building. He discovered, I have nothing left to do in my hands. Just read the reports of the team members, or step in to solve the trouble after some people are not skilled enough and make mistakes. The days are relaxing. Naruto also had more time to observe the 7th team. Kotsubaki Baseman is a very reliable vice-captain. Komamura Zyuogen is not as he describes himself. He is quite popular in the 7th team, just because of his strict style, full body attire, and his cold aura that repels people thousands of miles away. Many people are afraid to approach it. Naruto thought of Tsubaki's words that day. He felt, it seems that I have found a way to solve the Komamura left formation. Men, of course, have to solve it in a man's way. Chapter 54. Fight like a man. Naruto found the left formation of Komamura and told him his thoughts. Captain Naruto, do you want to have a fight with me? Komamura Zyuogen was surprised. Naruto nodded, yeah. Why? He shook his head, confused. Naruto smiled naively, I'm not a very good talker. I can't say something as reasonable as other captains. I'm still young and my words are not as powerful as theirs. There is no way to convince you with words. But during this period, Vice Captain Eamon taught me one thing. That is, trust the people close to you. Having said this, Naruto tilted his head and looked at the person sitting opposite him, Zougen, you are obviously a very good team member and a very responsible chief officer. A lot of people on the team look up to you. But on this point, you are too dishonest. Komamura Zyuogen did not speak. Those respect and yearning are visible to the naked eye. He only used the helmet to cover his eyes and ears, not his mind. Only. He believes that those respects are based on his human image in the hearts of those people. If the animal face is revealed, the ending may not be good. But if I question you because of this, why don't you believe them? This is very unfair to you. Naruto continued, it is not easy to put aside the things that protect yourself. But I believe you. I also believe in my team members. So, if you are not willing to take off the helmet, then let me break it with my own hands. I believe they will not dislike the 3 seats of the Komamura left front who have proven themselves to be reliable and powerful just because of their appearance. And no matter what the outcome is this time, as your captain, I will support any choice you make. We always have to witness it with our own eyes to confirm what we think in our hearts. Komamura's left group was silent. He thought for a while and nodded, Captain Naruto, I will accept it. It is not easy for 2 strong men with captain-level spiritual pressure to fight each other inside the Seireitei. Especially with Naruto's request. Asking for permission to use the swastika. Naruto has not learned it yet, but the Komamura left formation has already mastered the swastika. It's even more troublesome. Captain Yamamoto readily agreed. The people in room 46 of the Central Committee hesitated, but under pressure from the captain, they reluctantly agreed, but asked that at least 3 other captains be present, just in case. The duel was publicized very quickly. In the 7th Division team building, Captain Naruto is going to duel with the 3 members of Komamura. A team member said in disbelief. I heard that Mr. Komamura is capable of serving as captain. Someone explained, but he himself seems unwilling. That's becoming a captain. If I had the ability, I would have applied long ago. It's probably because of that. Although Komamura Zuochen covers himself tightly, he is active within the team all day long. Even if a secret is well protected, when it is exposed to everyone's view, it will be difficult to hide it. I don't have much contact with ordinary team members, I just think he has unique hobbies. But the chief officials all have some guesses in their minds. This news not only made waves within the 7th team, but also spread throughout the entire Seireitei in a flash. In particular, the 3rd Division and the 9th Division were particularly concerned about this matter. They don't have a new captain yet. If this Komamura left front 3rd seat is convinced, he will become the captain of one of the 2 teams. Of course they want to know the future captain in advance. The day of the duel. The training ground inside the 7th Division team building. There were not many people watching. I thought Naruto would let a lot of people come over. Shiba Yushin crossed his legs and looked at the crowd carelessly, I didn't expect there were only chairs from each team. Naruto ordered. The 7th Division team building is under martial law. Only the chief officials of each team are allowed to attend the game after registering the roster. Even the 7th team has to abide by this rule. Naruto is a very gentle person. Anohanaretsu said softly and shook his head. If too many people come, doesn't it mean that the 3rd chairperson of Komamura will be forced to serve as captain? Kiraku Shunsui took out the sake bottle from his arms and winked at Shiba Ishine. He nodded his head knowingly and took the glass, but what's going on with the 3 seats in Komamura? Looks like a big problem. Anohanaretsu and Jinraku Shunsui shook their heads and said nothing more. Just watch. Jinraku Shunsui said softly. The 3 of them were invited by Naruto to watch the game and provide support just in case. On the training ground, Naruto and Komamura's left formation came up. Captain Naruto. Komamura Zuochen said softly, I respect you very much. But I am very strong. Before joining the Godei 13 and serving for the captain, I had been wandering in the Soul Society for decades. And unlike Captain Naruto, I have already mastered the swastika. Ryutsu exploded from within his body. The expressions of the onlookers changed. Such courage! Naruto looked calm, then try your best to stop me. He flashed in a flash. The golden light drew an arc. Swinging the sword, aiming at the head. With a clang. Komamura Seijin raised his sword to meet the attack, turned his wrist, pressed down and stabbed. At the same time, he opened his mouth and chanted the words of liberation. Roar, God's punishment! The spiritual pressure was boiling. A circle larger than him, a giant hand wearing armor condensed behind him, holding a Zanpakuto that was magnified dozens of times. Amid the rumbling sound, a shadow was pressed down over the sky and earth. It smashed down plainly. The object was huge, the force was heavy, and the momentum was fierce. Naruto clapped his hands together, and a golden chain flew out from behind, binding the giant hand, entangled it, and made it stiff in the air and unable to move. Komamura Seijin raised his other hand. The spiritual pressure was condensed and was about to be slapped. 2 whooshes. The golden chain swung and tied up that hand as well. It crawled like a snake, wrapped around his body, and tied him up. Naruto raised his head and looked at Komamura Seijin's head. This is the only level that can stop me. Seijin, although I don't have Bankai. But I am also a captain. The chain danced and whipped the helmet. The 3 captains watching. Shiba Ishine held the wine glass and stared intently. Is this the technique that Naruto used to suppress the captains who became hollow that day? It's amazing. Anohanaretsu said softly, Naruto has improved again. But this Komamura-sensei is really surprising. I knew he had the ability of a captain long ago. But the previous speculation still underestimated him. Komamura Seijin's spiritual power is 3rd class. But among the 3rd class, it is already very outstanding. Maybe in a few decades, he can grow to the 2nd class. Very talented. No wonder the captain cares about him so much. If I don't release it, I will also suffer from Naruto's move. Kiraku Shunsui said softly, but Naruto hasn't released it yet. I heard that his 2nd sword has the ability to amplify the ghost way. While they were discussing, the golden chain approached the helmet. Komamura Seijin lowered his voice, Captain Naruto. This is not my limit. He clenched the sword in his hand. The spiritual pressure surged like a volcanic eruption. Bankai. Black Rope Heavenly Punishment Myoko. Chapter 55. Captain Naruto is not a man who is not good at speaking. Bankai unfolds. The spiritual pressure surged in an instant, and the air seemed to be distorted by the pressure. The huge and magnificent colossus rose from the ground. Breaking through the diamond blockade, the chain fragments flew in disorder. Naruto stopped and looked up. Is this the ultimate of Zanpakuto, Bankai? This is the first time I have seen it. It is really full of courage. Ming Wang is wearing brown tile armor, a steel helmet, and 2 horns like an ox. There is no pupil in the eyes, no tongue in the mouth, as if returning from hell. The body of the giant has a strong oppression, and when the spiritual pressure has the strength to adapt to its body size, the oppression it brings will increase several times. The shadow covers, like the sky overturning. Captain Naruto, be careful! Komamura Seijin exclaimed softly. He jumped up, stood in the air, and stood on Ming Wang's chest. He raised his sword. Ming Wang also raised his sword. Then he slashed down. The wind was howling, huge and noisy, and the sound alone seemed to tear his ears apart. But the speed was not much faster. It was just more powerful and wider. Naruto dodges easily with his left and right hands crossed, and drew his swords out of the sheath. 1 long and 1 short, 1 red and 1 gold. Howling and wailing, compassion and singing, anger and rotation, 9-tailed Ashura. The Zanpakuto was released, and the spiritual power started with these 2 swords and swept through the whole body. The body was plated with gold, and the 6 arms stretched out, still retaining some fox characteristics. Anohanaretsu narrowed his eyes. The Shikai has changed. It is completely different from before. The breath has also become peaceful, no longer so violent and ferocious. The spiritual pressure contains an extremely strong life breath. Naruto's Shikai is also amazing. Shiba Ishine looked more seriously, the 3rd set of double swords in Soul Society. It's really beautiful and charming. But it's different from Captain Shunsui and Captain Yukatakes. Kiraku Shunsui nodded. It's really different. Whether it's his double swords or Yukatakes' double swords, they complement each other and are symmetrical in appearance and strength. Even though Hata and Kyukotsu are not the same size due to the special reasons for their birth, they are mother and son after all, but they still uphold the essence of one lineage. But the 2 swords in Naruto's hand. No matter the appearance or the core strength, there are almost no similarities. Komamura-sensei's sword is good, and his Bankai is also very powerful. Anohanaretsu said softly, but it looks like he has already lost. The remaining 2 captains agreed. Although the battle is still going on, the victory or defeat is already very clear in their eyes. The Colossus is still swinging the sword. Its momentum is magnificent. Its advantages are obvious, but its disadvantages are also prominent. Naruto dodged several times. Captured key information. The movements of this Ming-Wang giant statue are consistent with those of Komamura Seijin. When the master swings the sword, it swings the sword. This means, if you want to defeat Komamura Seijin, you can't get around the synchronized giant statue. But this also means, Komamura Seijin's shortcomings are the shortcomings of the giant statue. He is not fast to begin with. And this slow speed is fed back to the giant statue that is dozens of times larger, which makes it even more sluggish and slow. It's just that the larger body has greatly increased the attack range. It can be regarded as an effective compensation for this shortcoming. But Naruto's instant step is at the level of being able to catch up with Yoriyuki. The former captain of the 2nd Division is known as the Instant God. And although the spiritual pressure of Komamura Seijin after Bankai has been enhanced, it is not strong enough to crush Naruto, slow him down, and make him unable to move. In just a moment, Naruto can instant step out of the attack range. No matter how large the range is, no matter how powerful the attack is. If you can't hit the person, it's ineffective. The most critical thing. Naruto originally thought that the appearance of armored Ming-Wang was to protect Komamura Seijin. But he soon discovered, the vitality of this magnificent armored giant is connected to Komamura Seijin. The injuries it suffers will be fed back to its owner without any error. If it is a life and death fight, there is no need to attack Komamura Seijin. As long as this armor is destroyed, it means killing Komamura Seijin. Naruto clapped his hands together. Vajra lock. A circle of thicker golden chains flew, and more than a dozen of them were stacked, binding the hands of the Ming-Wang Colossus. This time, it struggled hard. The chains snapped and made a sound of being overwhelmed. But after being amplified by the power of Ashura, it was tough and strong, barely not breaking. Komamura Seijin himself was not bound, raised his hand, and wanted to swing the sword to cut. The golden chains surged again, binding him as well. The Ming-Wang Colossus struggled hard again, and several chains were broken. At this moment, a white lightning flashed. Hado 4, White Thunder. It was the last Hado that Naruto fired with his hands, abandoning the chant. It shuttled through the chains and the Colossus, hitting Komamura Seijin's head. A low-ranked ghost path, even after being enhanced by Ashura, could hardly cause any effective damage to the captain. Not to mention that Komamura Seijin was still wearing a helmet. But he was fine. The wooden helmet was easily shattered, breaking into 2 halves, revealing its furry appearance. They are the Wolf Clan. Ishine Shiba paused as he picked up the wine glass and stared at Komamura's left formation. No wonder it's like this. The reputation of the Wolf Clan is not good among ordinary shinigami. Weird appearance brings exclusion. The reason why he resisted becoming captain was enough at once. Naruto's method is really rough. Kiraku Shunsui glanced at the onlookers, smiled, and drank the wine, but it is very useful. Ms. Hiwali said softly, we have another reliable colleague. The origin of the human wolf clan is evil. Kin. Those things are still a bit insignificant compared to real sin. As a captain, how many people have no sin on their hands? Yuajawali lowered his head and looked at his sword. Colossus King Ming breaks through the Vajra blockade. However, the Komamura left front did not continue to attack. He stood in the air, holding half of his helmet in his other hand. Left formation, turn your head boldly. Naruto looked at the officers, let's see their reaction. Komamura Zyuogen took a deep breath and turned his head. The officers of Division 7 were cheering for him. Well done, the 3rd seat of Komamura. Swastika is really strong and courageous. I didn't expect you to be so strong. The chief officers of other divisions should be a little more reserved. The members of the 3rd Division and the 9th Division had hot eyes, eager to look up. Certainly. There are also some who frown in deep thought or directly express malice. But such people are only a minority. There is a huge difference from the number previously expected by the Komamura left formation. I'm not that annoying. Komamura Zyuogen waved his sword and withdrew the power of the swastika. Naruto also sheathed his sword and asked him, why do they hate you? You are a very good person. You will also make a good captain. Komamura Zyuogen whispered, is this what Captain Naruto wants to tell me? There are still people who hate themselves because of their appearance. But there are more people who respect themselves because they understand themselves and because of their strength. Captain Naruto. Komamura landed on the left formation and bowed to Naruto. I am willing to assume the position of captain. He is willing to admit defeat. Although he had never made such an agreement with Captain Naruto. But this is indeed a good reason to convince yourself. And thanks to Captain Naruto, I got to see something different. Naruto grinned broadly. Komamura Zyuochen also grinned. Captain Naruto is not as inarticulate as he said. Chapter 56. Where is the sun? Naruto reported the news to Captain Yamamoto. For half a year, I thought you could be faster. Captain Yamamoto said calmly. Naruto bowed his head. But to be able to achieve this level is better than I expected. Naruto, you are a competent captain. The captain continued, go back and talk to Zyuochen and let him prepare to take up the post of captain of the 9th Division. Naruto was stunned, don't you need to pass the assessment? The captain asked back, didn't you already pass the assessment? Retsu, Shunsui, and Captain Shiba all gave me a positive answer. As the examiner, are you not satisfied with Zhou Zhen's performance? Naruto shook his head. Of course he recognized the ability of Komamura's left formation. Whether it is team management or personal ability, he is quite excellent. I just didn't think of it just now. The captain actually regarded his application as a review of whether the Komamura left front had the qualifications to be a captain. Is this the realm of captain? Learn something more. Naruto relayed the news to Komamura Zyuochen. He was happy about it. The 9th Division is a good home for him. He made his first friend there, Tisan Kaname, who is now the acting deputy captain of the 9th Division. 7 years later. The candidate for the captain of the 2nd Division has finally been announced. He is a member of the Hong family, a lower-level noble affiliated with the Shifenjin family. The position of captain of the 12th Division was also filled by Neri Yuri, the former third seat and deputy director of the Technology Development Bureau. To this person, Naruto didn't like it very much. Urahara Kisuke spoke highly of him, praising him as a genius who was second only in intelligence to himself. Only, there was an extremely cold aura about this man. The way he looked at himself was no different from the way he looked at the research materials placed on the table. Not just to myself. He treats everyone else equally except Urahara Kisuke, with the same study and trial eyes. It can only be said that it is no wonder that he was arrested and imprisoned in the Maggot's Nest, a prison that held all dangerous individuals who were judged to have the ability to potentially threaten the Seireitei. Kokaki Byakuya serves as the third member of Division 6. The captain is his grandfather and the vice-captain is his father. And a genius as famous as him. Ichimaru Jin has been promoted to the deputy captain of the 5th Division. It is said that both of them have begun to learn swastika in preparation for becoming captains in the future. The Captain's Hollow incident was almost completely forgotten at this time. As the man who was chasing criminals Urahara Kisuke and Chiffonier Yuaki, Naruto was naturally the most qualified person to investigate the truth of this matter, but the Central 4 Room 16 does not support it. Every time Naruto wanted to look through files and conduct investigations, he would always receive orders from them, forcing him to stop. He also continued to observe Aizen Soyajuk. But there is nothing strange about this person. Sosuke Aizen is still the gentle and good man. He treats his team members well and works diligently on the team. Even as the captain, he has not forgotten the agreement he made with Dean Hoka. Every year when new students enter, he will be there in person to give speeches and congratulations to the new students. In comparison, Ichimaru Jin, the deputy captain of the 5th Division and one of Naruto's friends, looks more like the mastermind behind the scenes. The 12th year in Soul Society has passed. Cherry blossoms are flying. Naruto woke up and opened his eyes. He was no longer in the 7th Division team building and returned to the hotel. Xianglin sleeps on the bed. Alarmed by his movements, he turned around in a daze and looked at the blonde boy who was practicing Blade Zen. What's wrong, Naruto? Naruto shook his head, it's nothing, I just ended my training. Xianglin mumbled and responded in a daze. Naruto formed a seal and created a shadow clone, I'll go out for a while and I'll be back soon. As long as the shadow clone is here, he will protect you. The shadow clone waved happily and said hello. Naruto left instantly. He wants to go back to Konoha. Of course, it's not that I have any memories of that village. I just remember the genin named Rock Lee. At that time, his return ability was not enough. After training with Captain Konoha in Soul Society for another 12 years, his return ability has improved greatly. There should be no problem now. Konoha. Naruto did not cover his whereabouts and barged in openly. Go straight to the hospital. The Umbu was trembling. The Jinchūriki left and came back. What was he doing? They couldn't see this as a good thing. After all, when the Jinchūriki left during the day, he killed 2 people with his own hands and nailed them to the gate of Konoha. This is a strong offensive signal. Someone was watching, but they couldn't keep up with Naruto's speed. The information was passed to the Hokage building. It soon fell into the hands of Jiraiya and Kakashi. At the entrance of Konoha Hospital, 2 figures fell quickly. Are you sure that Naruto's target is here? Jiraiya raised his head and looked at the Umbu that landed on the roof. The Umbu hasn't answered yet. There was a flash of golden light. Naruto instantly stepped in front of them. Naruto. Kakashi whispered his name. Why is Naruto back again? Jiraiya forced a smile and said hello in as relaxed and cheerful a tone as possible. Have you changed your mind? Naruto shook his head. I just thought there is one thing I haven't done yet, so I'll come back and take care of it. Kakashi looked serious. Jiraiya looked back at the hospital in doubt. Naruto seems to have nothing to do with the hospital. I have some ideas about Rock Lee's injuries. Let's see if I can heal him. Naruto said softly, without keeping anyone in suspense. Kakashi was startled. The hand that he slowly raised without making a sound suddenly fell down. It was to save Guy's students. He thought. It turned out that it was not the bad situation he was worried about. Naruto is not an enemy. Jiraiya's face also relaxed a little. You still miss your friends. In fact, Naruto, you can't bear to leave Konoha, right? Koharu and Yan both promised me that they would. Naruto shook his head and smiled softly. There is darkness in Soul Society, but at least there is the son of Captain Yamamoto. Where is the son of Konoha? He turned his head and raised his hand. Chakra surged, and a golden chain whipped out from the palm, piercing a shadow, rolled up a person, pulled back, and threw him heavily to the ground. It was a Konoha ninja wearing a mask and a vest. Jiraiya and Kakashi looked over, their pupils dilated. Although this person looked almost exactly like the Umbu. But, you can tell them apart at a glance. This ninja wearing a mask that was not an animal standard. It was the root. It was the power of that man. If you really promise, then prove your sincerity. Naruto stepped on the man who was still struggling, and the chakras surged, pressing him to move. He bent over and stretched out his hand, and took off his mask. He opened his mouth and pulled out his tongue. On the tongue, the sealing spell composed of 2 Yao was clearly visible. Hand this person over, let me deal with it. Naruto raised his head and looked at the 2 of them. It was obvious. This person in Naruto's mouth did not refer to the ninja whose tongue he pulled. The one who sent this root ninja here. The one who used this sealing technique. The one who sent out the unidentified ninjas during the day to hunt down and kill Naruto. Jiraiya opened his mouth but said nothing. Kakashi held his breath. If you can't do it, don't say these high-sounding words like promises. Naruto threw the man away and walked between the 2. If you don't have the determination to become the sun, don't deceive others into believing that you are the sun. Chapter 57. Come as you please, leave as you please. Jiraiya turned around. Naruto had disappeared in the shadows under the bright lights. He and Kakashi looked at each other in silence. After a while, Jiraiya raised his head and ordered, the people from the route should stay away from here and not test it. Umbu. Leave 2 people to stand at the door and watch. No matter what the situation, you can't conflict with Naruto. Others, disband. 2 Umbu responded and appeared in an instant. The others took the route and disappeared immediately. Hokage building. In the meeting room, 3 senior advisors, the leader of the Jonin squad Narashikaku, and a group of elite Jonin including Might Guy, all gathered. The whole village was on alert, and there was a lot of panic. They were waiting for a signal, or 2 people to come back. Not long after, the door was pushed open. Really, don't be so nervous. Jiraiya said with a hearty smile, Naruto has no hostility, he didn't come here to destroy the village, he is a good boy. Everyone in the room breathed a sigh of relief. Danzo gritted his teeth and angrily slammed the table, asshole. Jiraiya, is this your answer to us? You are so indulgent to Jinchūriki. What do you think Konoha is? He can come and go as he pleases. You can trample on the dignity of the village like this, and you can. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes and looked at him sharply, Danzo, I really have something to report to you. He has always hated this senior advisor. Especially after what happened to Naruto. Danzo frowned and waved his hand. Naruto told me that if Konoha can hand you over and let him deal with you, he might consider it. Jiraiya said softly. Everyone in the room was stunned. Considering what? Return to Konoha? Or something else? Danzo frowned. Is this a threat to him? He glanced at everyone again, and his heart was even heavier. Many jonins actually thought about this. Jiraiya-sama, Danzo-sama. Narashikaku said, we can't deny that Naruto is a Konoha ninja. This is a reminder, and it is also a fact. Konoha's current situation. Isn't it that Naruto can only come and go as he pleases? What else can be done? If you have the guts to scold Naruto here, you have the guts to scold him in front of him. Yuditen Koharu followed up with a calm voice, shut up, Danzo. We haven't allowed you to speak as a senior advisor again. Jiraiya, what is the purpose of the Jinchūriki's return this time? Jiraiya replied, it's for a boy named Lee. Is his target Lee? Might Guy exclaimed. It's to cure Lee's illness. Jiraiya explained, his tone gentle, soothing him, Kakashi is watching over there, don't worry, nothing will happen. Might Guy nodded, he still had confidence in his friend. Is the illness of a genin worth the Jinchūriki rushing back? Mito Kato and thought, could he have other purposes? Might Guy shook his head, his voice was distressed, not as energetic as before, Lee's body is in trouble. Konoha doesn't have the power to treat him now. Naruto came to visit once before, and he was making preparations at that time. Yuditen Koharu was surprised, even Konoha's medical ninjas can't do it. In terms of the ability and technology of medical ninjas, Konoha is definitely the best. This depends on the medical ninja plan proposed by Tsunade, one of the three ninjas. Although it has not been fully implemented. But at least, there is a relatively complete medical ninja training system in Konoha. Lee overloaded his forbidden technique, and bone fragments are embedded in his nervous system. Might Guy clenched his fists, Konoha's medical ninjas are helpless. They said. Perhaps only the return of Lady Tsunade can cure him. Tsunade, the woman who stands at the top of medical ninjas. Does Jinchūriki have this ability? Asked Koharu Yuditen. No one answered her. Jiraiya frowned and pondered. If it was before, he would definitely give a decisive no answer. The practice of medical ninjutsu is not a matter of a day or a night. It requires a lot of practice. But with Naruto's talent and the power of the Nine Tails, he can't give a definite answer now. The atmosphere in the room was silent, and no one spoke anymore. After asking Jiraiya for instructions, Might Guy rushed to the Konoha hospital. He was worried about Lee. Wait for him to arrive. In Lee's ward, there was only Kakashi. Where's Naruto? Might Guy poked his head out, but didn't see the blonde figure in the room. Kakashi replied, he's gone. How is Lee? Might Guy's eyes fell on the bed, on his apprentice. The watermelon-headed boy looked calm, snoring slightly, and was sleeping. This made him stunned. Lee hadn't slept in this position for a long time. The injuries on his body forced him to sleep on his side. Lying flat would make his back unable to bear it. Naruto said that the operation was successful. Kakashi walked to the table and picked up a surgical tray, this was taken out of Lee's body. There were densely packed and finely divided residues inside. The smallest one is less than half the size of a sesame seed, and the largest one is even the size of a fingernail. These are the bone fragments embedded in the nerves that the Konoha medical ninja mentioned during the diagnosis. I wanted to ask the doctor to come and check it out. Kakashi continued, but Xiaoli seemed too tired and fell asleep after the operation. However, before he fell asleep, Naruto pulled him up and confirmed the situation. Now he can walk without crutches and his waist can be straightened. It looks like he has recovered. I didn't disturb his rest. Might Guy seemed to have lost all his strength and collapsed on the chair next to him. That's great. Wait for Xiaoli to wake up and check again to confirm the situation. That's what he said. But he was not so nervous. Staring at the blood-stained things on the operating tray, he couldn't help but laugh foolishly. With these things, Xiaoli's current state, it can almost be confirmed that he has been completely cured. The reason why he still wants the medical ninja to come and check again is just in case, just to turn the high probability result into a completely confirmed result. Naruto left too quickly. I should have thanked him. Might Guy raised his head and stared at Lee tenderly. Kakashi did not speak, but stared at Lee. But his thoughts were not on this watermelon-headed boy. Instead, they were on Naruto, who had just left. He did not seem to care at all that he had just parted ways with Konoha. He would come back if he wanted to visit someone he cared about, and leave after the visit. Konoha was regarded as heir by him. Before Lee was treated, Kakashi felt guilty towards Naruto, but he also felt that he had abandoned his companions. But did he abandon them? If he really abandoned them, he would not come back to treat Lee. Kakashi then remembered what he had said to Naruto during the first mission he performed with Team 7. Why do you ask yourself to accept people who do not accept you? So, in his eyes, partners are partners, and villages are villages? Kakashi tilted his head slightly and turned his gaze to Might Guy. The big watermelon-headed man was still grinning. He thought, if he was a rebel ninja, and there was no conflict with Konoha, if he encountered danger, Might Guy would definitely come to save him. Kakashi sighed. Naruto is really free and easy. But why is he so free and easy? Chapter 58. Do you want to learn? Konoha Corner. The abandoned Uchiha family. Sasuke sat in the courtyard. According to past habits, at this time, he is undergoing physical training. But at this moment, he was not in the mood at all. He just raised his head and stared blankly at the half-curved moon. The rain during the day wiped the sky clean, and not even a cloud could be seen. But in a daze, he always seemed to see a golden figure floating. That was Naruto's shadow. The scene during the day kept playing in my mind. Standing in the sky, leaving without caring what Konoha thinks. The people in the village were helpless and could only agree. These are brought about by powerful forces. Kin. How did Naruto possess such great power? Even if he develops his Sharingan to 3 Megatama, I'm afraid he won't be able to catch up with Naruto. He frowned. Suddenly he turned his head and looked at a shadow not far away. Who is it? Come out. Sasuke, your perception isn't bad either. A man in a black robe walked out slowly. You discovered me so quickly. Sasuke bounced up and took out a kunao. It's you. Pocket. How brave you are to appear in Konoha at this time. The man took off his hood, revealing his plain face wearing glasses, with a fake smile on his face. I'm very timid, but I managed to seize this opportunity. Now all Konoha's thoughts are on that person. That person. Sasuke was stunned as several names flashed in his mind. After a moment, he finally confirmed which one it was and spat out, Naruto. Kabuto Yakushi nodded, yes, it's the Jinchūriki. He just returned to Konoha, and the whole village was disturbed by him. Went to the hospital, then left again. I thought Konoha would stop it somewhat. Sasuke narrowed his eyes and did not follow his words. Instead, he asked sternly, stop talking nonsense and explain your purpose. He didn't need to ask what did Naruto do in the hospital. The answer is clear. It was to save Rock Lee. Compared to Naruto, he cared more about this person's purpose for finding him. Naruto is really powerful. Kabuto Yakushi tilted his head and looked into the distance. I have always been afraid, and I only dared to come to Naruto after confirming that he had left the village. You seem to be 3 months older than him. Sasuke said nothing. He knew Naruto's birthday, October 10th. She is more than 2 months younger than herself, who was born on July 23rd. Are you eager for powerful power? Yakushi Kabuto turned his head back and looked at him with a smile. Sasuke put his hand down, his posture still alert. Jinchūriki. You all call Naruto a Jinchūriki. Is it because of that identity and the demon fox sealed in his body that he became so powerful? Kabuto Yakushi smiled softly, you are so naive, Sasuke. That brat called Gaara by Tsunagakure is also a Jinchūriki. but the gap between him and Naruto. He clicked his tongue and gave no conclusion. Sasuke also made a judgment in his mind. Gaara is very powerful. At this age, there are few opponents who can compare with him, but the gap between him and Naruto is as big as a ravine and a mountain. Want to catch up with Naruto? Yakushi Kabuto raised his hand and stretched it out with a sincere expression. Sasuke shook his head and looked him up and down. Is it just you? The tone was disdainful. The day Konoha collapsed the plan. He had seen Kabuto Yakushi take action, and together with several Tsunagakure ninjas, they could join forces to fight against Kakashi and the others. Naruto's judgment was correct. This guy is indeed a figure not to be underestimated. But it's just like Kakashi, not even close to Kakashi's level. Of course not. Yakushi Kabuto pointed upward. Have you forgotten the adult above me? You mean the guy named Orochimaru? Sasuke was stunned. Kabuto Yakushi nodded. Sasuke frowned. Hasn't he been killed by Naruto? Let a dead man teach me. You can say that. Kabuto Yakushi still had a fake smile on his face. Even I thought Lord Orochimaru was really dead at first. But Lord Orochimaru's methods are far beyond our imagination. He thought about returning to Orochimaru's base. Tell the death news to the man most trusted by Orochimaru. However, he calmly stated that Lord Orochimaru was not dead, and ordered himself to bring Sasuke back to prepare for Lord Orochimaru's resurrection. Kabuto Yakushi grinned and smiled contemptuously. After a pause, he continued, death is just an illusion. After all, death is a more accepted outcome than falling into Konoha's hands. Sasuke's expression changed. Orochimaru is not dead? Come with me, Sasuke. Kabuto Yakushi continued to reach out. Konoha is not suitable for you. That Jinchūriki brat should destroy this place. The darkness beneath this village disappeared together. You won't get strong here. Only swallowed by darkness. Sasuke put his hands in his pockets and stood up straight. Even if Orochimaru is not dead, so what? What can he teach me? How to play dead and avoid the enemy. What I need is the power to kill the enemy head-on, not the power to escape. Yakushi Kabuto retracted his hand and gently pushed his glasses. Doesn't killing the third Hokage prove the power of Lord Orochimaru? It's just killing an old guy. Sasuke shook his head and refused decisively. Orochimaru. When he appeared in the Forest of Death, it did bring him great pressure. But in Sasuke's eyes, Orochimaru was not worthy of the title of strong man. He seemed to want to do something to him. But he was beaten away by Naruto in a few moves. He worked hard to kill the third Hokage who was about to be buried. And then he was killed by Naruto. Such a guy. This meager power is not enough to attract himself to learn. Escape from Konoha and find a guy who can be killed by Naruto. It's better to stay in Konoha, learn from Kakashi first, and make other plans after opening the 3 Megatama Sharingan. Really? Lord Orochimaru is like this in your eyes? Kabuto Yakushi sighed and said softly, but even if you have some misunderstandings about Lord Orochimaru for the time being, Lord Orochimaru will always welcome you. If you figure it out. Come to Sound Village. Sasuke did not respond. He watched Kabuto Yakushi disappear into the shadows with cold eyes. He raised his head and continued to stare at the moon until he could no longer detect his breath and chakra. He clenched his fist in his pocket more tightly. Power. Naruto left the village. Before he was far away, he found a breath chasing him closely. It was familiar chakra. He stopped and stood on a tree waiting. The man caught up quickly. It was Jiraiya. What do you want to do by chasing me like this? Naruto looked at him with a calm tone. Jiraiya scratched his head and spoke, his voice not so confident. I have 2 ninjutsu I want to teach you. One is the summoning technique, the contract with the giant toad of Myaboku Mountain. We can use it to communicate. The other one is the ninjutsu called Raise Non. Naruto shook his head. He doesn't need more ninjutsu now, these things can't increase his strength much. These are all ninjutsu your father once knew. When mentioning Minato Namikaze, Jiraiya spoke more powerfully, Raise Non is the unmarked ninjutsu developed by your father. Do you want to learn? Chapter 59. One thing. Raise Non? The technique developed by my father. Naruto was moved. His current combat system is relatively mature, and the demand for techniques is not great. The broken way is enough. But it is my father's thing after all. They didn't leave many traces in his life. And the summoning technique seems to be worth learning. Naruto recalled the experience of performing the first sea-level mission with Kakashi. At that time, he saw him use the summoning technique to summon creatures far away in other areas. It is a technique involving space. He still hasn't figured out the principle of his travel between this world and Soul Society. The space and time ghost way is a forbidden technique. It is not a ghost way, and it cannot be obtained in the Soul Society. Wuling Tesai is a good breakthrough. He is the first person who has clearly performed a technique with time and space elements in front of him, but he and Urahara Kisuke escaped to the real world together. They hid very well. It seems that they were worried about the enemy who was hiding his head and tail, and they had not tried to contact him. The investigation was blocked by the 46th room again. He could not find them either. Now, he needed a technique related to space. Is the summoning technique related to space? Naruto asked. Jiraiya was stunned and nodded and replied, of course, it is a relatively basic space-time ninjutsu. Then I'll trouble Jiraiya to teach me these two techniques. Naruto agreed. Jiraiya thought, Naruto, are you interested in space-time ninjutsu? Konoha has a ninjutsu called Flying Thunder God technique. It was also used by your father, and it was his signature ninjutsu. It was because of it that Minato had the name of Golden Flash that frightened the enemy. If you stay in Konoha, you might have a chance. Naruto interrupted him and grinned, is my father's name Golden Flash? It sounds really cool. Jiraiya was stuck and couldn't say the rest of the words. He looked at Naruto and knew that these two avoiding the important words were a silent rejection of his proposal. Also, a piece of carrot tied up and dropped in front of the head can catch a donkey, but how can it catch Naruto? He walked over, but did not take out the scroll, but demonstrated and taught Naruto. The summoning technique is not difficult. The most important step is to write your name on the contract scroll. Jiraiya took out the Myabokuyama contract and unfolded it. Naruto glanced at the notes left by those contractors. Jiraiya's name was the second to last. After him, the last name was written in sloppy hiragana characters, Namikaze Minato. Naruto filled in his name, and there were only 5 seals. It was a very simple technique that was fully mastered in less than an hour. Looking at the toad summoned by himself, Naruto was thoughtful. He did feel the space being broken and the wave of opening up a channel in an instant. Unfortunately, Urahara Kisuke ran away. He could only study it himself. The use of summoning technique is not limited to summoning beasts. Dead objects are not restricted either. Jiraiya also suggested that Naruto engrave the summoning technique on the handles of his double swords. If the double swords accidentally slip out of your hands during the battle, you can also use the summoning technique to recall them. You can also use the summoning technique as a storage method, sealing things in a scroll, and summoning them when you need to use them. The second technique to learn is the Raise Non, a ninjutsu that does not require hand seals. Looking at the blue ball in Jiraiya's hand that keeps spinning inside. Is this developed based on the tailed beast ball? Naruto asked. This ball gave him a sense of déjà vu. Jiraiya grinned and nodded, as expected of Naruto, you can see it at a glance. This is the technique developed by Minato for Kushina. He paused, waved his hand, and dispersed the chakra. You can already tread water, and even condense chakra and stand in the sky. This proves that your manipulation of chakra is extremely meticulous, far beyond my level. But these are all static uses of chakra. Raise Non is different, it requires chakra to flow. Let me stay with you during this time and teach you to practice this door. He couldn't finish his words, his eyes stopped on Naruto's hand. In his palm, chakra flowed, twisted in one direction, and brought a weak wind. But it is just a surface, far from a ball. Naruto adjusted the direction of chakra flow and controlled several streams at the same time. The wind became manic, and the airflow rolled up in disorder. Gradually, the chakra was restrained, and there was a little shadow of Raise Non in the blur. Increase the power again. After several attempts, a blue ball floated up in Naruto's palm. Teacher Jiraiya, is that so? He has released the tailed beast ball many times. After Urahara Kisuke helped him to successfully transform into the 4 tails, he also practiced the tailed beast ball for a period of time. The principle of the raise-non technique is derived from the tailed beast ball. With other people's experience to learn from, it is not that difficult for him. Jiraiya looked at it, somewhat silent. Learned it so quickly? He also wanted to take this opportunity to spend more time with Naruto. Unexpectedly, he had only demonstrated it once, and he saw through the principle. It took only more than an hour, and he had already learned it. Great, Naruto! Jiraiya forced a smile, you mastered it so quickly. Naruto dispersed his chakra, thank you, Jiraiya teacher. Then I'll go first. He stood up, jumped onto the tree, and was about to leave in an instant. Jiraiya called him, Naruto. The blonde boy turned around. What do you mean when you say you want to find your parents? Jiraiya asked, vomiting out the biggest doubt in his heart. Minato and Kushina are dead. Where are you going to find them? Naruto's voice was soft, but very firm, I know they are dead. But doesn't this world have the shinigami? Then there must be a place to accommodate the souls of the dead. That's where I'm looking. Jiraiya was stunned, the shinigami? Where did you hear about it? I saw the third Hokage perform a technique called Shiki Fusion with my own eyes. Naruto replied, he summoned the shinigami and sealed his own soul and the souls of the first and second Hokage. It's that death god? You can see it. Jiraiya's face darkened and he frowned, where did you sign a contract with that thing? Naruto looked over, I didn't sign a contract with it, but for some special reasons, I can see it. Teacher Jiraiya also knows that technique. Then please teach me, okay? Jiraiya asked, you really didn't sign a contract? Naruto nodded, really? It's great that you are not related to such a dangerous thing. Jiraiya breathed a sigh of relief, as for that technique. Sorry Naruto, I don't know it. The third generation Hokage died, I'm afraid there is only a record of Konoha. Naruto was unmoved. Jiraiya hesitated and sighed, you want to leave Konoha and go out to make a living, your attitude is so determined, I can't stop you. Naruto, you are also very mature and powerful. So, there is one thing I think I have to tell you. Chapter 60. Uchiha Madara. Dawn is about to emerge, and heavy fog rises in the early morning after the rain. Two men wearing black robes with fire cloud patterns stood on the wall, looking down at Konoha from a high position. It doesn't seem to have done much damage. The tall man said, I'm still looking forward to how much damage they can do. He has a fishman appearance, with gill-like lines on both sides of his cheeks and high on his cheekbones. The shorter man was silent, with two scarlet shinigami eyes in his eyes. But why do we come to Konoha? The tall man turned his head, isn't there information that the Ten Tails Jinchūriki has left Konoha to travel and grow? Do you want to come back and have a look? Itachi, people like you still have memories of the old village. Uchiha Itachi shook his head with an indifferent expression, no, I don't miss you at all. But, Kisame, if you are the decision-maker of Konoha, will you let go of the Jinchūriki at this time? Kisame raised his eyebrows, of course not. The previous Hokage has just died, which is when wars are easily provoked. The Jinchūriki are war machines. Oh! Itachi, do you think that is an interference message sent by Konoha? Uchiha Itachi stared silently. Kisame didn't speak either. In the woods outside Konoha. After listening to Jiraiya's explanation, Naruto put his hand on his stomach, is there only half of the 9 tails in my body? Yes. Jiraiya nodded, Minato sealed the yang half of the 9 tails in your body. Seal the yin half of the 9 tails with the Uzumaki seal. Naruto lowered his head. He recalled what Captain Anohana said when he first examined himself. Half the power in the body is missing. It turns out that this does not refer to double swords. But half of the power of 9 tails is missing, it is incomplete. Jiraiya looked at his hand, Naruto, to what extent have you mastered the power of the 9 tails? Naruto whispered, it looks like Nanao. Nanabi. Jiraiya whispered in a low voice and repeated, then when you can completely suppress the power of the 9 tails, please contact me. Minato left a key. Originally that was prepared for Kushina. But that kind of thing happened before the research and development was completed. That's a technique that allows you to perfectly master the power of the 9 tails. Naruto nodded absently, but why did Dad leave half of the Kyuubi's power inside me? And that technique? Since my mother is also a Jinchūriki, he should know how painful it is to become a Jinchūriki. Is it to leave something behind for the village? Jiraiya was silent for a while. Minato is not that kind of person. He thought a lot in his mind before he answered carefully, he is definitely not someone who would let his children make sacrifices for the sake of the village. Since he did it, there must be a reason why he had to do it. I think. Jiraiya paused and said in a serious tone, Kushina is from the Uzumaki clan. She is very good at sealing techniques. Even if my strength is weakened that day due to production. But as long as Minato is here, it's impossible for the Kyuubi to break free of the seal. However, Kyuubi still escaped from the trap that day. I thought maybe it was man-made. Naruto narrowed his eyes, what do you mean, man-made? Did someone release the Kyuubi? Just a guess. Jiraiya shook his head. Naruto didn't speak, sat down cross-legged, and entered his inner world. There's no point in guessing. The parties involved know best. You should have heard what Jiraiya-sensei and I said. He got straight to the point, his tone a little irritable, what happened on the day I was born? Someone manipulated you and destroyed the seal on my mother. Kid. Kyuubi was a little annoyed, you are so rude. Tell me the truth. Naruto said forcefully. Joakia, why should I tell you? Naruto clasped his hands together. The golden chains surged and rattled. Here we go again. Nine Tails' explosive hair jumped up, you Uzumaki clan, why are you always like this? It met Naruto's eyes. His eyes were impatient and determined. The golden chains waved, but at this time they had no intention of binding and suppressing themselves. Just a threat. It feels no malice. But the signal given is very clear. If you don't cooperate, you will take action. Kyuubi sighed, that night, someone broke the seal on Kushina. A man with the Sharingan. Sharingan? These three words stunned Naruto. He subconsciously thought of Sasuke. But obviously, it couldn't be Sasuke. He was more than 2 months older than her and had just been born at that time. Did the Uchiha clan do it? Naruto let go of his hands and retracted the golden chain. I was released from Kushina's body. Kyuubi continued, then I was controlled by a pair of Sharingan. It sped up and passed over the controlled part. And then, when I wake up, I will be sealed again into the body of a brat like you. I wanted to break free from the seal, but was stopped by the fourth Hokage. The nine-tailed fox was inevitably irritable when he said the last sentence. It hated the feeling of being sealed and imprisoned. Is that so? Naruto clenched his fists, did someone take advantage of my mother's delivery? He left his inner world. I just asked the nine-tailed fox. Naruto looked up and looked at Jiraiya, it said that a man with the Sharingan took advantage of my mother's delivery to unseal it, release it, and control it. Jiraiya's expression sank, sure enough, someone deliberately manipulated this matter. Naruto raised his head and looked at the bright sky, the Uchiha clan has been destroyed. I have learned something about Sasuke. Now the Uchiha clan only has him and the man he hates. Jiraiya made a clearer explanation, that man is his brother, Uchiha Itachi, the murderer who killed all the Uchiha clan. Could it be him? Naruto asked. Jiraiya shook his head, Uchiha Itachi is a genius and very powerful. But he is very young. When the Nine Tails Rebellion broke out, he was probably only 5 or 6 years old and was not capable of that level. I wonder if it is. He carefully uttered a name, Uchiha Madara. Who is he? Naruto asked. Madara? He had never heard of this name. He is the founder of the Uchiha clan of Konoha. Jiraiya introduced, he is a person of the same period as the first Hokage. Naruto was surprised, so long ago, 12 years ago, could he still be alive? But if any Uchiha has the power to unlock the seal of the Nine Tails under Minato's defense, Jiraiya said seriously, only this founder of the Uchiha clan can do it. Naruto. You must be extremely careful when you leave Konoha. Since that guy can make a move once, he will make a move a second time. If you encounter danger, contact me immediately. This time, I won't be late again. Jiraiya clenched his fists, his expression and tone were very firm. Chapter 61. The Promise with the Nine-Tailed Fox. Jiraiya certainly hopes to go with Naruto. But he was decisively rejected. Having Karen by his side is enough. He returned to the hotel. It was dawn, and the red-haired girl was still sleeping in bed. Naruto disbanded his shadow clone. Sitting on the windowsill, looking at the sun rising in the distance. The news he got from Jiraiya was good news in a way. He has always had complicated feelings for the nine-tailed fox. This fox is not bad-tempered except for its bad words. To be honest, I like it quite a lot. But on the other hand, before today, in his own cognition, the nine-tailed fox was the murderer of his parents. And after today, he learned the truth that it was not the nine-tailed fox who forced his parents to die, but someone else. The man who possessed the Sharingan and was suspected to be Uchiha Madara. The nine-tailed fox. Naruto whispered and called out its name. In the inner world, the fox responded sullenly, "Kid, what's wrong? When I find my parents, I will ask them what they think of you," Naruto said slowly. The Nine Tails was stunned. Naruto leaned against the window. "The culprit is that Uchiha. But you also contributed to the situation. I am not qualified to speak for my parents, nor do I want to speak for them. If they are willing to forgive you, then I will try to find a way to safely release you from my body. If they are unwilling, then I will release you and give you freedom before I die." The Jinchūriki is a prison for the tailed beasts. But the tailed beasts are also a kind of imprisonment for the Jinchūriki. When the tailed beasts are completely separated from the body and the symbiotic relationship with the Jinchūriki is broken, the Jinchūriki will die. The nine-tailed fox bared its teeth and said in a surprised voice, "Wait for you to die. Naruto. Who knows how many years you can live? Isn't it said that Yamamoto Genryusai has a lifespan of more than 2,000 years? You are still from the Uzumaki clan. It is sure that if there is no accident, Naruto's lifespan will definitely be in the unit of 1,000 years, and he will definitely live longer than Yamamoto Genryusai. This is the punishment for your parents not forgiving you." Naruto smiled. The nine-tailed fox purred in dissatisfaction. "Let's make another agreement." Naruto tilted his head and said in a soft voice, "I know you don't like being forced." The nine-tailed fox bared its teeth, recalling the unpleasant days under the whip of the Vitrolok. "It's just that I thought you were the murderer of my parents before." Naruto continued, "I don't want to care about your thoughts. But it's different now. Let me apologize for my previous willfulness. I won't use the diamond seal or other sealing techniques on you in the future. But when I need to borrow your power, can you lend it to me without being so resistant?" Faced with Naruto's direct attitude, the nine-tailed fox was a little at a loss. It could sense that Naruto's emotions were frank and sincere, not hypocritical and full of lies. It was just that it was a little difficult to resist because of his straightforwardness. "Let me think about it." After a while, it shook its tail and answered softly. "Do you agree?" Naruto smiled. The nine-tailed fox was embarrassed. "Shut up, Naruto. I said I would think about it. Then tell me your name too." Naruto continued. "Don't talk to yourself." The nine-tailed fox raised his voice, "I said I would think about it." It had a wonderful light flashing in its eyes. A long, long time ago, when it was just born. The father who created their tailed beasts. The man named Itsutsuki Hago Romo, known as the Six-Path Sage by the world. He told them to pay attention to connections with people. But humans disappointed him. Especially those with red eyes. Red-haired guys are not easy to get along with either. Will Naruto be the exception? The Nine Tails stopped talking. There is still a long time. Naruto has a lifespan of more than 1,000 years. As a tailed beast, he is eternal. There is enough time to get along and see slowly. However, he can stop using those annoying golden chains on himself. It is really good news. Wait until the sunlight completely enters the house. Karen wakes up. "Naruto." She mumbled, rubbing her eyes, "I just dreamed that you suddenly ran away." Naruto smiled, "I went back to save someone. I also talked a little with Jiraiya-sensei." Karen paused, "That wasn't a dream. Did you sleep well?" Naruto jumped down from the windowsill. Karen nodded. She tilted her head and looked at Naruto. She just took a nap, but she felt that Naruto had changed a lot. He became more reliable. "Then let's go shopping together." Naruto waved his hand, "Is there anything you want?" Karen's eyes flashed, and she nodded quickly. When she was in Kusagakure village, she didn't have such freedom. She had long wanted to try the life of a normal girl. The economy of this town is pretty good, with a full range of shops of all sizes and a lot of variety. Naruto customized 2 sets of clothes for himself, the Death Hater suit and the captain's Hayori. He has worn this set for more than 10 years and has become accustomed to this kind of dress. Karen stared at her earthy grey coat, lined with the standard ninja fishnet outfit. It was a little hard to look at, and she doubted herself for a moment. Is Naruto better at dressing than herself? She tried on several sets of clothes for herself. Perhaps because she had lived in the Kusagakure village for a long time and her aesthetics were suppressed, the clothes she picked out were always weird. Either they were not good looking, or they were still acceptable when taken out alone, but they were a mess when paired with red hair. It was still Naruto who took action. He picked a set for Karen, a navy blue waisted shirt, paired with khaki cropped pants, and a pair of low-top sneakers. Looking at herself in the mirror. Naruto, you have a good eye. Karen turned left and right, staring at her. The girl in the mirror was very beautiful. Red hair is a brilliant color, and with a deep but not depressing color as a backdrop, the whole person looks sunny and cheerful. But there is almost no ninja appearance. Naruto smiled. He picked a few more for her, and then left the town and headed towards the land of whirlpools. In Konoha, 2 men wearing red cloud and black robes walked on the street. Kisame lowered his voice, wouldn't it be a bit bad to just break in like this? At least you should do some disguise. Even if the 3rd Hokage is dead, this is Konoha after all. Uchiha Itachi's tone did not change at all. If you think there is a problem, then find the boy quickly. There is no point in saying these things. As he said, his steps suddenly stopped. 2 Konoha ninjas blocked their way. One had a beard and a handsome appearance. He was the son of the 3rd Hokage, Asuma Seireitei. The other had black hair and red eyes. He was the senior ninja Yui Kurane. You 2 are not from Konoha, are you? Seireitei Asuma said softly and cautiously, why did you come to the village? These 2 people have strong auras and are both strong. The fact that they appeared at this time made him feel alarmed. Chapter 62. Target, the Land of Whirlpools. Konoha, Training Ground. Want to become stronger? Kakashi looked down at the boy in front of him. Early in the morning, he was invited over by Sasuke. Sasuke clenched his fists and nodded vigorously, yes, I want to become stronger. But you just learned Chidori's technique. Kakashi said softly. Sasuke shook his head and gritted his teeth, this is not enough. Just knowing that one technique is not enough to catch up with Naruto. Not to mention. Caught up with that man. This sentence made Kakashi's heart ache. To chase Naruto? He took a deep breath and nodded, if that's the case, But he couldn't finish his sentence. A special jounin arrived, his tone a bit panicked. Kakashi-sama, the traitorous ninja Itachi appeared in the west direction of the village. Asuma and Kurane-sama have already intervened and requested support. Kakashi was startled and subconsciously looked at Sasuke. On that young and handsome face, a look of confusion and hatred immediately appeared. Sasuke, don't be impulsive. He called out, trying to stop. But the next moment, Sasuke rushed out without saying a word and ran towards the west of the village. Kakashi catches up. Wait until they arrive at the location. Asuma and Kurane both fell to the ground. The man with the shark face waved the knife, intending to kill and silence him. Kakashi instantaneously formed a seal and performed ninjutsu. Escape, earth flow wall. The earthen wall inlaid with the dog's head was pulled up in place, blocking the man's movements. A new person is here. Kisame stepped back and put the knife on his shoulder. It was a dark blue knife full of barbs. Oh? What's going on with this brat? There is also a Sharingan, and Itachi, he looks a lot like you. Uchiha Itachi said calmly, he is my brother. Didn't you say that you have killed all the Uchiha clan? Kisame asked with doubt, but his tone was full of teasing, it turns out there is still a single seedling left. Uchiha Itachi did not answer him anymore, but greeted his brother, long time no see, Sasuke. Itachi Uchiha. Sasuke yelled his brother's name through gritted teeth, I'm going to kill you. He stretched out his hand to form a seal. Thunderlight surged in the palm of his hand, making a sharp buzzing sound. Kakashi looked over, looking worried. This is his own signature ninjutsu. A technique taught to him during the Chunin exams. Thunder release, Chidori. Sasuke looked ferocious, his anger burst out, and his body even trembled slightly. I have always hated you. I live just to kill you. He reached forward. Lightning distorts the air. He exerted force under his feet and ran away. The distance of several meters was reduced in the blink of an eye. Like the tip of a knife advancing, it stabs fiercely. But Itachi only moved slightly, turned slightly to the side, raised his hand, and clasped Sasuke's wrist easily and casually. The lightning was still buzzing sharply in the palm of my hand. The distance between him and Itachi was only 2 or 3 steps. But Sasuke couldn't make any further progress. You are so weak. Uchiha Itachi said softly. Sasuke's heart tightened. Does a technique like Chidori only have such a tiny ray of light in your hand? Itachi Uchiha raised his knee and hit Sasuke hard on the abdomen. The sharp hum gradually subsided. He stretched out his hand again, wrapped his arms around Sasuke's neck, and picked him up. The 3 Megatama Sharingan eyes in the eye sockets rotated, and their shapes twisted and changed, like 3 sickles embedded in the pupils. Sasuke glared. It was those eyes from that night. Uchiha Itachi whispered, why are you so weak? Only 2 Megatama. It's because your hatred isn't deep enough. Following his words, Sasuke's senses froze and paused. The world is reduced to a negative. Tongjutsu, Tsukuyomi. You should be familiar with this place. Uchiha Itachi said softly, and at the same time as he spoke, countless voices echoed. In the world of Tsukuyomi, space, time, and quality are all under my control. I will stab you every minute and every second for the next 72 hours. Uchiha Sasuke gritted his teeth and groaned. The first knife has already penetrated the body. The senses are amplified. The pain is sensitive and prolonged. This is the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Itachi moved his hands and continued softly, you have the same qualifications and talents as me. There is also the possibility of opening a kaleidoscope. But if you want to have these eyes, you need to meet a condition. That is, kill the friend you value most. This proves that you have the power to possess a kaleidoscope. The pain made it difficult for Sasuke to think effectively. After hearing Itachi's words, the only name and appearance that flashed in his mind was that one, Uzumaki Naruto, that has been echoing in front of his eyes in the past few days. To get the power of kaleidoscope. Do you want to become a person like Weasel? 72 hours in Tsukuyomi space. Only a moment has passed in real time. Kakashi pulled on his forehead protector and said in a serious tone, let go of Sasuke. Uchiha Itachi casually threw Sasuke away, who had fainted. I'm not interested in weak things. He glanced. It fell on Asuma and Kurane. 2 Jounin. Such a bargaining chip is enough to show his presence. Raise your head again and look into the distance, you can vaguely see the towering Hokage building. More and more people are getting in the way. Uchiha Itachi turned his head back. Kisame, let's go. He started to move. Kisame was stunned for a moment, looked at Sarutobi Asuma on the ground, and put away his knife. Tisk, this is a very good prey. Our goal is not to fight. Uchiha Itachi said softly, it's a pity that the information was not obtained. But there is no point in staying. Kakashi held the kunao and wanted to intercept. Uchiha Itachi turned back. The Mangekyo Sharingan that was completely different from the 3 Megatama turned, and a trace of blood flowed out. Eye technique, Amaterasu. The strange black flame ignited where the eyes were focused. It has a different nature from ordinary flames. The ink-like swaying, every wisp is particularly clear. Kakashi stopped and formed a seal to perform water escape. But pouring it on the flames failed to extinguish it, and instead it burned more vigorously. Several figures fell. They were Jiraiya, Might Guy, and a whole Umbu tactical team who came after receiving the notice. Where is Uchiha Itachi? Jiraiya's face was serious. He had just returned to the village when he received the news that Uchiha Itachi appeared. Kakashi walked over and picked up Sasuke. He ran away. Asuma, Kurane, and Sasuke are in poor condition. Send them for treatment first. Their purpose is unknown. But it doesn't seem to be Sasuke. Jiraiya took out the scroll and sealed the black flame. really. The Umbu should not chase them, and make good defenses in the village. Wait until Asuma and Kurane wake up and ask them what they know. The Umbu agreed. Jiraiya frowned. As soon as the third Hokage died, all kinds of monsters appeared. What happened in Konoha had nothing to do with Naruto. He hurried on with Karen. In 2 days, they arrived at the border of the Land of Fire, a town near the sea. Standing on the reef, the two looked into the distance. The view is not good. Karen poked her head, I can't see the Land of Whirlpools. But my mother said. The Land of Whirlpools is on an island east of the Land of Fire. As she said this, she tilted her head and looked at Naruto, how do we get there? Should we fly there? Let's take a boat. Naruto said softly, I saw a boat operator in the town. Chapter 63. What are you testing? The rocks were a little slippery due to wind and rain. But for a ninja, it's not that hard to walk. Xianglin jumped down. He raised his hands high, as if trying to catch the sea breeze, but what was left was only the wet moisture that filled his palms. She turned around, wanting to say something to Naruto. But before he could speak, a golden light flashed before his eyes. Naruto stepped in front of her in an instant, his expression serious. He turned his head and looked to the left, yelling, that guy over there, come out. The fingers followed and the chakra was mobilized. Breaking path number 4, by Lei. The white light flashed, struck in the blink of an eye, and exploded. Xianglin shrank behind Naruto and looked in the direction. In a humid environment, there is not much smoke and dust, and only some sand and gravel fly away. The field of view is also very wide. It is a gravel beach with no obstructions. I didn't see anything resembling a human or a puppet. There seems to be no one over there. She whispered. Naruto frowned. As far as I could see, there was indeed no one. In his perception, there was no chakra aura in that place. Kido only hit the ground. But at that moment, he clearly sensed a malicious intent. Like a thorn on the back, it definitely comes from human malice. There will be no problem with your own perception. So, that should be a guy who hides himself to the extreme. If it wasn't for the malicious intent, I wouldn't be able to catch his aura. As soon as I left Konoha, I was approached by such a guy. Who could it be? That Uchiha? Or someone else who is targeting Kyuubi or himself? Just like the guys who are here at this moment, they are hidden, but in their own eyes, their chakra aura is very visible. Deep underground. The man whose head was wrapped in a giant pitcher plant and whose body was half black and half white was frightened. It was really dangerous, I almost got hit. A frivolous voice sounded, it was the white part that was talking, he found us. How? The black half said in a serious tone, it's really sharp. He is very confident in his lurking method. He has hidden himself from people who are more powerful than Naruto. And more than once. But this guy. You have to be more careful in the future. The white half whispered, but the good news is that we at least found his traces. Tell Zuhanan that the nine-tailed Jinchūriki is going to the country of Whirlpool. The Zu and Nan in his mouth referred to Uchiha Itachi and dried persimmon Kisame. Members of the same organization. The black part stopped talking. He was underground, disappearing. What's wrong? Xianglin tugged on his sleeves. Naruto shook his head and turned his head towards the reef, the three people over there don't need to hide their heads and tail. Come out. Xianglin followed and looked again. The waves hit the rocks with a loud and vigorous swish. Is there anyone over there? Naruto raised his hand without saying it a second time. The white lightning is still flashing, shattering the rocks, passing through holes, and breaking through the waves. 3 figures swished around and had to be exposed. They are all ninjas wearing khaki vests and masks. Umbu from Iwagakure village. Xianglin stared at the mark of 2 mountains linked together in the center of their foreheads, and immediately recognized their identities. Don't be nervous. The Umbu standing in the center said. He raised his hands and spread them in front of his chest. We have no ill intentions. Naruto looked at them. We are under the orders of Tsuchikage Onaki-sama. Seeing that Naruto had no intention of continuing the attack, he continued tentatively, I would like to extend an invitation to the hero who killed Orochimaru, the S-class rebel ninja, that is, you, Uzumaki-sama. If you are unhappy in a place like Konoha, Why not consider changing to another village? He spoke carefully, trying to make his tone and voice sound as sincere as possible. Naruto smiled softly. The three Umbu breathed a sigh of relief. But the next second. What are you testing? A voice sounded in his ear. The field of vision suddenly became empty, except for a red-haired girl. The blonde boy was no longer where he was. Instead, he appeared next to him, with his hands even on his mask. He tried to pull away. But a huge pressure hit him, making him tremble, his body became petrified and stiff, and his chakra froze. The connection between brain and body is severed. Naruto took off his mask, revealing his face that was roughened by wind and rain, dark black and yellow, and full of characteristics of the kingdom of earth. This made him even more frightened. I can't move, what kind of technique is this? Illusion? Or the shadow binding technique of the Nara clan? But whether it's illusion or the secret technique of the Nara clan, can it be done to this extent? While controlling others in this way, your own actions will not be affected in any way. Naruto let go and let the mask free fall. I hate this. The mask fell to the ground and was absorbed by the beach, making no sound. Are these people trying to recruit themselves? Not really. Although Naruto's experience are not as good as other captains, he can't hide this little thought. Recruitment is just a cover. They are testing me. Are you leaving the village to practice or going against Konoha? The answer is the latter. But do I need to answer for them? I will not fall to Konoha, nor can I fall to other villages. Naruto turned around and walked slowly towards Karen, waving his hand, let's go back. The red-haired girl nodded and followed. The two of them walked lightly, leaving only shallow marks on the beach. But in the feelings of the three people, the momentum erupting from the blonde boy became heavier and heavier, until he completely disappeared from sight. The burden on their bodies finally disappeared. They were finally able to let the almost destroyed and collapsed mental will be fed back to their bodies. The three Umbu collapsed and lay on the beach. What's up with that brat? The man on the left took off his mask, gasped, and sweat poured down his forehead. What's up with that spirit? The news about killing Orochimaru is true, not a smoke bomb released by Konoha to interfere. Although the other man did not take off his mask, his tone was trembling with fear. He can definitely do it. Even if he doesn't use the power of the tailed beast, he can definitely do it. He stretched out his hand tremblingly and touched his neck. There was no gap, no bleeding, and it was intact. Great. He had been worried since just now whether he would be dead, but the brat's knife was too fast, so his body didn't feel it. The man in the middle didn't speak, staring at the sky in a daze. He was the one who was under the greatest pressure. The Jinchūriki didn't seem to express his opinion of Konoha. The man on the left turned his mind a little and thought about this mission. The man in the middle immediately responded and tilted his head, what are you thinking about? That was a warning just now. If we go to find him again, we will definitely die. We have confirmed his strength. That's enough to report to the village. The man on the left shook his head. He didn't want to see the blonde boy again, no, of course not. I just wonder why he didn't express his opinion. It's just a sentence. The man on the far right whispered, does the strong need to tell the weak his thoughts? He doesn't like our behavior. How can it satisfy our goal? Luckily, the captain didn't choose to take action. It's good that we didn't die. Chapter 64. I'm just a passing hero. Return to town and rent a boat. Naruto and Xiangren rested for the night and waited until the next morning before setting off. Yesterday's warning to Iwagakure was effective. A large number of ninjas were withdrawn from the town. The country of Whirlpool is a small island not far from the shore. After sailing on the sea for more than 2 hours, we arrived at an abandoned ferry. The water was misty and a bit gloomy. The pier stretching out on the water has become rotten and tattered, with only some broken wooden boards left that are barely hanging on. They look fragile. Let alone stepping on them, a strong wind or a heavy rain may cause them heavy losses. Has the kingdom of Whirlpool been like this for so many years? Naruto asked softly, staring at the dock. The boatman didn't even look back, hardly anyone will come. I remember when this was still a country. I don't know why it suddenly died overnight. At this point, the boatman paused and said, I heard from the old people in the town that this country offended the shinigami, causing him to punish him and destroy this country. Naruto raised his eyebrows. The shinigami? Why do you say it's the shinigami? The country of Whirlpool is an island country. Even in the eyes of ordinary people, the demise of this country is related to gods. The one that comes to mind should be Poseidon. Hurricane, earthquake, volcano. These elements are all more reasonable than the appearance of death. I don't know either. The boatman shook his head. That's what the old people in the village said. Xiangren whispered, my mother said that the Uzumaki clan used to have the custom of worshipping the shinigami. This is probably how the rumors of being destroyed by the shinigami spread. The boatman turned back and looked at Xianglin in surprise. I remembered, I seem to have heard them say it before. In the past, most of the ninjas in that country had red hair. Are you their descendant? Xianglin did not answer him and continued, the demise of the kingdom of Whirlpool was not due to the shinigami. It's because ninjas from other countries are afraid of the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique. In one night, we united together to destroy the kingdom of Whirlpool. Even our ally Konoha couldn't react. The boatman nodded and suddenly realized, so that's it. What great news! He avoided the dock, threw a rope to tie the tree stumps on the shore, and set up the raft. Naruto and Xiangren disembarked and set foot on the land that once belonged to the Uzumaki clan for the first time. Wait! The boatman called to them. The two turned back. The boatman scratched his head, although you look very powerful. It's also related to ninjas in this perishing country. But be careful. There are still some original residents on this island. I also heard that some pirates live on this island. Naruto smiled at him, thank you, uncle. The boatman watched them leave, then rocked the boat and returned. On the island of Whirlpool country. The trees are tall, the bushes are thick, and everything is alive. But only there are not many traces of human life. There is a well-trodden path leading from the pier to the island, but it has not been used or maintained for nearly 20 years, and weeds have grown over it, trying to encroach on it. Follow the path forward and you will enter a town. This place once relied on the port and had a prosperous economy. But now there are only ruins, and the land is deserted. Do you want to find something here first? Xianglin walked to the door of a half-collapsed house and peeked inside. Let's go find the ninja village first. Naruto shook his head. Continuing forward, not long after leaving the town, I heard a burst of noise and panic not far away. The two of them walked over and stepped on the tree. The place where the sound came from was a simple settlement. Houses built with materials scavenged from the town. A small village with only a few dozen people. They are being plundered. The 5 pirates were holding knives they had obtained from unknown sources, and some were waving kunai and shurikens. Hurry up! Hand over all your food and money, or you'll die. They are extremely arrogant. There were only 5 people, but the whole village didn't dare to resist. The older ones looked numb. Young people and children wanted to resist, but the adults held them back. There are ninjas. Naruto whispered, his eyes falling on 2 of them. The 2 men were not wearing ninja forehead protectors. The chakra aura is not powerful, not even comparable to Haruno Sakura. But there is no doubt that they are beyond ordinary people. Naruto wants to save them. Xianglin tilted her head. She didn't care much about these people, she only cared about Naruto's opinion. What responded to her was an arc drawn by golden light. Naruto quietly intervened on the battlefield. The 5 pirates suddenly froze with ferocious smiles, their bodies turned to stone, unable to move, and only their eyes could move. This was the gap created by Naruto. The 5 of them rolled their eyes with difficulty, and their eyes fell on the blonde hair. He looked horrified. A powerful ninja? How could a character of this level appear on a small island like the country of Whirlpool? You have stronger power, but you only want to bully the weaker ones. Naruto said softly, his eyes scanning their faces, it's really unforgivable. He put his hand on the hilt of Kyuubi. Unsheathed an inch. Without liberating it, only using a trace of power. 5 translucent tailed beast hands emerged from the ground. In the frightened, resisting, and begging eyes of those 5 people, there was no hesitation, crushing their throats. Naruto turned back. People in the village are cautious. Is it Ninja-sama? An old man gathered in the center of the crowd spoke with a cautious tone, thank you, Ninja-sama, for saving our village. He winked at the person next to him. The man holding the money in his arms quickly ran to Naruto, knelt down in the tuxedo position, piously piled up the coins and pushed them to Naruto's feet. The old man continued, "This is the only money our village has, as a reward for saving us, Ninja-sama. I hope Ninja-sama won't dislike it. Although it is a pity to lose money. However, there are not many opportunities to use money on this island. In comparison, being able to keep food is already very good." Only then did Xianglin fall to the ground and stand next to Naruto. People in the village are more cautious. Another ninja. Naruto didn't answer immediately, he was thinking about a question. After a while, he smiled. He bent over and picked up the 2 coins with the largest denomination from the pile of coins and put them into Xianglin's hand. "Let this be my reward for saving you." As for the ninja, Naruto said softly but firmly, "We are not ninjas." He paused, thinking of a suitable description. "I'm just a hero passing by." The old man was startled. He stared at Naruto's face. Set against the golden hair, this cheerful smile was even more dazzling, as if the gloomy fog lingering on the island was instantly lifted. "Hero? Instead of a ninja? Lord Hero, can you tell us your name?" he asked. Naruto gave a thumbs up, "Just call me, Golden Flash, Uzumaki Naruto." Xianglin chuckled, "Naruto, your naming ability is quite different from your aesthetic ability. Golden Flash is very handsome." Naruto smiled, "And that's my dad's nickname. I'm blonde too. It's obviously a good fit for me." Chapter 65. Uchiha Itachi is coming. In the crowd, a little boy broke free from his mother's hand and ran out. He followed the example of the man with the doge seat, knelt down to Naruto, and spoke loudly, "Hiro-sama, can you stay in our village?" Naruto looked at him, "You want me to stay? Pirates?" He seemed to have used up all his strength to say the request just now. Now when he spoke, he was a little weak. "Pirates are not the only ones. Our village is robbed by pirates every few days. Even if you live in another place, they will still find you. My father died at the hands of other pirates. Lord Hero, stay in the village and protect us." Naruto shook his head without hesitation, "Why should I stay?" The little boy raised his head, a little confused. He had already said this answer just now, "Because there will be pirates. They will come to rob our village and kill other people in the village." Naruto looked at him and nodded, "Yes, there will be pirates. I killed this wave today, and another wave will come out in a few days. Even if I kill all the pirates now, new people will become pirates in a few years." The little boy was confused and couldn't understand the words. "I want to stay to protect you, then how long do I want to stay?" Naruto asked him, "There are always pirates, do I want to stay forever?" The little boy opened his mouth. He wanted to say why not. But this kind of words is somewhat difficult to say. "I also have my own things to do," Naruto said softly, with a gentle tone, "Those are very important things to me. It's something as important as your desire to protect the village." The little boy's eyes were red and he clenched his fists anxiously. "Why do you have to pray for others to protect you?" Naruto squatted down, raised his hand and touched his head, "If you want results, just do it yourself. I want to protect the people I want to protect. Just use your own hands." The little boy gritted his teeth, "But I don't have that much power." Naruto stopped talking and formed a seal to perform the technique. Ninjutsu, psychic technique. Summons 2 blank scrolls. After he wrote something, he put it in front of the little boy. The little boy looked at the scroll, then raised his head and looked at Naruto with doubtful eyes. "Can you read?" Naruto asked him. The little boy shook his head, "I don't know how to do it yet, but the village chief does." Naruto patted his head, "Then let's learn to read first. Then learn what's on the scroll. This is chakra refining technique, as well as some physical techniques and sword techniques. Strive to make yourself stronger." After he finished speaking, he stood up and left with Xianglin. The little boy stood up grabbing the scroll, bowed to him, and shouted, "Thank you, hero." The blonde hair in her eyes shone brightly, like the sun. Naruto didn't look back and just waved his hand. The two left the village. Xianglin tilted his head and stared at Naruto, "Aren't we going to be ninjas?" "Why do you want to be a ninja?" Naruto asked. Xianglin looked forward, I thought you wanted to rebuild the kingdom of Whirlpool and rebuild Whirlpool Village. Naruto whispered and repeated those words, rebuild Uzashio Village. Maybe in the future, maybe not. But before I make a decision, I need to figure one thing out. Xianglin kicked the gravel on the roadside. What do you understand? What is the meaning of ninja existence? Naruto strode forward. This is an overlooked but important question. In Soul Society, what is the meaning of the shinigami's existence? This is a question with a very clear answer. That is to maintain the stability of the three realms. The present world, Soul Society, Hueco Mundo. These are the three realms that construct an entire world. But what is the purpose of ninja existence? In education in Konoha, the meaning of ninja existence is to complete the mission. The education Xiangrin received in Kusanagi was also similar. Kin. This is just the meaning of ninja as a tool, not the meaning of ninja itself. Xianglin lowered his head and looked at his clothes. She thought that there was nothing wrong with not being a ninja. It was just that her mother was a ninja, so she thought she was born to be a ninja. In the past few days when I left Konoha with Naruto, I didn't live like a ninja at all. The dressing up doesn't look like a ninja either. But these days were the happiest days for her since she was born. Then don't be a ninja. She quickened her pace and followed behind Naruto. On their way to find the ruins of Ninja Village, they realized that there were many bandits in this land. There is little room for good people here. When we bump into people, those people are always fighting. Naruto and Kaoru would watch. If both parties were villains, then Naruto would just pass by and ignore them. If one party bullies the other, Naruto will stop it. Konoha Coast. You can even detect that guy. Kisame opened the scroll and read the information. Is your perception so strong? Let's go to the kingdom of Whirlpool. Uchiha Itachi did not agree with him, looking at the island vaguely visible in the distance. Let's go, Itachi, there are some problems with your previous judgment. Kisame put away the scroll. The departure of the Ten Tails Jinchūriki is not a false news released by Konoha to confuse people. But he is definitely very strong. The news of killing Orochimaru is probably not false. At such a young age, he has the strength comparable to the three ninjas, which is really not to be underestimated. Uchiha Itachi said calmly, there is nothing to be underestimated. Our mission is not to capture the Nine Tails now. The organization is not ready yet. If we can't take him away, then collect as much information as possible about the Nine Tails Jinchūriki. We have no knowledge of him now. Kisame shook his head, really rational, Itachi. They took a boat and headed towards the Whirlpool country. At this time, Naruto and Karen also arrived at the ruins of Whirlpool Village. This place is more dilapidated than all the villages and towns they passed by. Buildings collapsed and totems collapsed. Only on some stone pillars covered with moss can you still see the remnants of the Uzumaki clan totems. There won't be anything valuable here. Karen dug up 2 ruins and only found some skeletonized limbs. These limbs were just broken parts such as broken palms and fingers. There were no complete bodies. Ninja corpses are very valuable things. Those ninjas who attacked the Uzumaki clan also took those corpses away when they left. Needless to say, the information stored in the village. Naruto didn't say anything. He squatted in front of a stone tablet and wiped off the moss on it. It's not completely gone. Look at this. Karen leaned her head over. The stone tablet was engraved with words, and the content was roughly the history of the establishment of Uzumaki village. Under the leadership of the clan leader Uzumaki Ashina, the Uzumaki clan took root here and established Uzumaki village. This news is of no use to you. Karen muttered, with a lost tone. Naruto shook his head, maybe there will be other stone tablets that record what I need. Let's look for it. Chapter 67. Can you bear 72 hours of pain? Uzashio village is indeed a place of almost no value. On the day it was destroyed, all valuable things were looted by the murderers. In the nearly 20 years of blank time, there will always be some explorers breaking in and taking away some things they think are valuable. What's left? There are only these stone tablets engraved with some fragmentary and scattered written records. And the long time has brought huge wear and tear, making some of the words blurred and difficult to read. It wasn't until night fell that the two of them finished transcribing the records on the 6 stone tablets. At night, the visibility was not good, and time was not so tight, so they stopped to rest. I found a relatively complete house high up in the village to serve as a temporary residence. Gather some dry firewood and light a bonfire to light up the place. Xiangren flipped through the scroll and read the words on it, frowning. These things are all about the history of the Uzumaki clan. Why are all the events from the Warring States period engraved on it? To the Uzumaki clan, these things were of high value. But for Naruto, these things were far from what he expected. I guess I didn't find the right place. Naruto was also reading. Let's see if there is anything similar to a shrine nearby tomorrow. Xianglin nodded, but did not put the scroll down, trying to dig out something useful from the gaps in the words. Naruto poked at the fire and suddenly paused. There are two very powerful guys approaching. At this time, when you come to a place like this, the target is most likely me. Xianglin shrank into the room. Powerful? How strong are they? It feels to me that he is at Orochimaru's level. Naruto thought about it and made a judgment. Xiangren's eyes widened and she exclaimed, Orochimaru. That was known as one of the three ninjas, rated S level, a powerful rebel ninja who could kill the third Hokage. Although he was killed by Naruto, this does not mean that he is weak, but that Naruto is strong enough. Guys of this level are so common now. You can encounter them in places like the country of Whirlpool where birds don't poop. And there were two at once. Let's run. Xianglin thought for a while and suggested. Naruto shook his head, spoke calmly, and elaborated on a fact. There are too many guys who catch up after smelling the smell. As soon as we escape, they will get excited and think we are easy to bully. The only thing I can do is teach them some painful lessons. When they see blood, people die. They will know not to mess with us. Xianglin pursed her lips and said in a worried tone, but after all, they are two guys like Orochimaru. The harder the object is cut, the more it proves the sharpness of the famous sword. Naruto stood up and looked down at Xianglin. Don't worry, I am much stronger now than I was a few days ago. You have to be careful. Is there a way to hide? If not, just run farther away and I'll find you. There are some other dangers on the island, such as bandits or some defecting genin, but compared with the two men who entered Uzashio village, these things can be completely ignored. If you just hide, I have no problem. Xianglin gave a positive reply. I have almost mastered Kagura's mind now. It's no problem to protect yourself. She knew her place around Naruto. In terms of talent, she is far behind Naruto. Let alone catching up with him in just 1 month, even if it takes a lifetime, she may not be able to reach Naruto's current height. Therefore, she did not learn King Kong blockade or other ninjutsu. Instead, he studied the technique Kagura Mind's Eye. This is also one of the secret ninjutsu of the Uzumaki clan. After closing your eyes and opening your inner eye, you can sense all chakra within a radius of dozens of kilometers. If you practice to the extreme, you can also sense the emotions of chakra, and even detect whether the other person is lying. Of course, Xiangren's purpose of practicing this ninjutsu is not for its perception ability. But this technique also has the ability to hide chakra in dangerous moments without being discovered by others. If you can't help Naruto, don't hold him back. Then hide. Naruto nodded, wait until I come back. Xianglin hid, closed his eyes, and performed the technique. The ruins of Uzashio village. Two people in black robes with red clouds were walking on the river in the village. This is the once famous Uzumaki country. Kisame looked around and marveled, I can't imagine what kind of prosperity it would be like when it was intact. Uchiha Itachi said nothing. I don't mean anything else. Kisame tilted his head to look at him, I'm just a little confused. Can the two of us find the 9 Tails Jinchūriki? Uchiha Itachi raised his head and glanced at the moon. Jinchūriki's perception is very strong. If he finds out about us, he will come looking for us. Kisame nodded, thoughtfully, won't he run away? Uchiha Itachi didn't reply. Just tilt your head and look to the left. There stood a half-collapsed pillar, and on it stood a blond boy wearing a white feather fabric. The moon phase was just behind him. It forms a scene like an ukiyo-e. You were right, Itachi. Kisame narrowed his eyes and raised his hands slightly. The 9-tailed Jinchūriki really took the initiative to come to the door. Naruto lowered his head and looked at them. Your target is me after all. He did not restrain his chakra and released it completely. But the two people's faces only changed slightly. Under his oppression, they did not retreat, nor were they greatly affected. This kid's spirit. Kisame grinned, smiling ferociously, with a kind of excitement of seeing the prey. I thought that part of the content was fake. Just by looking at the eyes, he scared away 3 Iwagakure Umbu. It turns out that it is really so strong. Uchiha Itachi did not speak, staring at Naruto. No wonder you have the courage to come to me. Naruto jumped lightly and jumped down from the high pillar. You are very capable to stand in front of me without any effort. After getting closer, he could see more clearly. The two people wore the same black-bottomed red cloud robe. Both wore ninja forehead guards with different patterns. The one with the shark face had the pattern of Mist Hidden Village on his head. The shorter one with the Sharingan has a Konoha forehead protector on his head. The forehead protectors are different, but they all have a scratch that destroys the symbol of the village. This is the mark left by the rebel ninja for himself. So, these two people are from the same rebel ninja organization? Are you Uchiha Itachi? Naruto looked at the shorter man and read his name. Uchiha Itachi said softly, do you know me? Sasuke has always wanted to kill you. Naruto put his hand on the hilt of the knife. When talking about his younger brother, Uchiha Itachi did not show any emotion, and his voice and tone were very cold. He is not big enough to support him to do this. Big enough? Naruto repeated these two words. Uchiha Itachi raised his hand. 9 Tails Jinchūriki, let me see how magnanimous you are. Naruto looked at him and smiled gently, you always talk about magnanimity. You still have to wear the forehead protector you used to wear after defecting from the ninja village. These two words don't seem so beautiful. Uchiha Itachi said in a deep voice, really? As soon as he finished speaking, the Sharingan started to move. The vision in Naruto's eyes suddenly became dim, and the sky was like a scarlet wave. The body became a little heavy. Several huge iron wedges were inserted into his body, making him unable to move. Is this illusion? It invaded his body silently. 9 Tail! He shouted in his heart. The tailed beast chakra was immediately injected into his body, instantly destroying the original chakra balance in his body. This is one of the most effective ways to break illusions. The iron wedge disappeared, and the heaviness of the body disappeared. When Naruto opened his eyes again, a huge fireball rolled in his face. The high temperature was so hot that the air was distorted. Fire style, great fireball technique. Uchiha Itachi seized the opportunity of this moment of distraction. Naruto was not in a hurry, and just flashed. The red sword was unsheathed. The red light was waving, and it slashed at Uchiha Itachi. This sickly-looking man was surprisingly good in physical skills. Holding a kunai, he fought with Naruto for several rounds without losing. Kisame did not participate. For the time being, this was still a battle for Uchiha Itachi alone, and he did not need to lend a hand. However, although I had expected it in my heart and knew that this blonde boy was not bad, but seeing him fight back and forth with Itachi in person, I was still amazed. When in Konoha, that kid with the Sharingan who was about the same age as him didn't even have the ability to make Itachi take him seriously. What a difference! Naruto frowned. The battle with Uchiha Itachi was not difficult. The man in front of him didn't seem to have much desire to fight him. He was testing his ability, and he was also testing his ability. But those endless illusions gave him a headache. They could conceal his senses, and they were silent when they were launched, without any signs, reaching the level of false and real. They were not fatal, but it was difficult for him to seize the opportunity to win. 9 Tails Jinchūriki, you are indeed very powerful. Uchiha Itachi suddenly said, I can't deal with you with the power of 3 Megatama alone. I don't know if you have heard Sasuke mention the evolution of the Sharingan above the 3 Megatama. Naruto was stunned. The evolution of the Sharingan? He and Uchiha Itachi met eyes. In the man's eye sockets, the 3 Megatama turned, changed shape, and a strange sickle-like pattern unfolded. Moonlight reading. Chakra surged, dragging the blonde boy into the spiritual world. Naruto was in a trance. The colors of the world were wiped out, like a negative, only black and white. His body was suddenly tied up and tightly bound to the rack. In front of him, Itachi Uchiha was like performing the multiple shadow clone technique, densely packed, like a large group. When he opened his mouth, his voice was also layered. This is the evolution of the Sharingan, the Mangekyo Sharingan. With your capacity, can you endure the pain of these 72 hours? A clone came out, raised the knife in his hand high, and stabbed at Naruto. Chapter 68. Same hata, my same hata. The sword in Uchiha Itachi's hand is a Tai sword standard. The edge of the blade is sharp. His face was expressionless and he was working hard. However, when the tip of the knife hit Naruto's chest, there was only a clang sound, like cutting on a golden sword. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't make an inch forward. Uchiha Itachi looked up in shock. Naruto, who was tied to the rack, grinned, "You can pull me into this world. I'm also looking forward to your technique. But a slash of this level is too weak." Uchiha Itachi raised his knife and stabbed again. The result is no different from the first time, and it won't hurt at all. What's going on? I have used Tsukuyomi so many times, but this is the first time I have encountered this situation. The spell was obviously successful, but it couldn't hurt him. This is a question of the nature of the soul. Naruto whispered, "My soul is much stronger than yours. Your already weak soul has been divided into so many parts. You have no right to hurt me at all. What is dragged into this space is the spirit, which is somewhat different from the soul, but the gap between them is no longer that huge." Here, the advantage of Naruto's soul strength is even more prominent. Many Uchiha Itachi gathered. He would rather believe that this is because Naruto himself has the ability to resist the Mangekyo Sharingan to a certain extent. Many knives were stabbed together. But quantity doesn't make up for the gap in quality. Still no harm done. Tsukuyomi is completely ineffective. Uchiha Itachi didn't hesitate and immediately disbanded the technique and returned to reality. He was panting. Naruto's expression didn't change at all. Kisame was surprised and glanced back and forth between the two people. He knew that Uchiha Itachi had a pupil technique, which would put a heavy load on the body, but it could cause a lot of damage to the enemy in a short period of time, even causing the enemy to completely lose the ability to fight. He didn't use this technique many times. But every time you use it, you will definitely get excellent results. Kurane Yui, Asuma Sarutobi, Suzuki Uchiha, these people are the best proof. But what's going on now? The struggling look on Itachi's face clearly meant that he had already activated the pupil technique called Tsukuyomi. But the Nine Tails Jinchūriki was not affected at all and was still alive and kicking. It was like he used Tsukuyomi on Uchiha Itachi. What's going on? He couldn't help but ask. Uchiha Itachi frowned, he is very strange. This may be the most difficult enemy he has ever encountered. Ordinary illusions can take effect, but they can only have an impact for a moment, and will be broken by the tailed beast's chakra the next moment. And the advanced illusion Tsukuyomi. It can indeed pull him into the spiritual world. But in the spiritual world that was completely controlled by him, it was strangely unable to cause harm to him. If you only use your current abilities, you won't be able to defeat him at all. But if those spells are used. Own body. Do you need me to take action? Kisame grinned. Uchiha Itachi nodded. He looked serious as he stared at the golden figure rushing towards him. The Mangekyo Sharingan rotates. Another pupil technique is activated. Amaterasu. Wherever his gaze landed, where Naruto was looking at, dark flames suddenly appeared and burned vigorously. Naruto was startled and stopped. What kind of fire escape technique is this? He stamped his foot, causing water to splash on the black flames, but with a sneer the steam rose up, but the flames did not extinguish at all. And at this moment, the flames have burned through the armor and eroded the body, burning the skin and flesh to pieces and charring them black. Jinchūriki brat. Kisame rushed over with a ferocious smile, this flame cannot be extinguished until you die. He pulled out the big knife that was tied with a bandage on his back, swung it, and smashed it down hard. Speak of it. The Momokai Zabuza you defeated was once one of Kirigakure's 7 ninja swordsmen, just like me. Now let me use this knife to test your quality. Naruto gritted his teeth and raised his sword to attack. Kisame grinned and smiled even more ferociously. While Naruto was still suffering from the pain of Amaterasu fire, he pressed down hard, chakra exploded, and the bandage exploded, revealing the true appearance of the sword. It's not so much a knife. Perhaps it would be more appropriate to describe it as a surprise soldier. The whole body is dark blue, full of barbs, and has a life breath. Kid, you are so young. Kisame pulled hard and withdrew the knife. You were fooled. Big sword shark muscle. It's to cut people, not to chop them. The barb hooked Naruto, tearing his clothes and cutting off a piece of flesh. He waved the knife again. But for some reason, the instinct to fight suddenly made him feel a little uneasy. The kid in front of me seemed a little too calm. He is now completely at a disadvantage. He was burned by Amaterasu and seriously injured. Naruto still maintained the posture of raising the sword, and said in a gentle tone, "It is indeed worthy of commendation for letting me see blood. But is it just to this extent that you start to feel proud?" Chakra surges and explodes. The spirit of words came out of his mouth. Howling and wailing, singing songs of compassion, turning the wheel of anger, nine-tailed Ashura. As promised, Naruto did not have the power to forcefully twitch the Kyuubi. Although the agreement was made before. Kyuubi has been saying let me think about it, but at this time, it did not prevaricate or remain silent, but quietly lent its power, connected it with the power of Ashura, and input it into Naruto in vivo. Long red sword, short gold sword. Six-armed golden body. Kisame's sword slashed at this moment, and Naruto raised his Kyuubi with one arm to attack. Bang dang impact. The shark's face was a little distorted, and he looked at Naruto with some shock. What's going on with this sudden change? 4 extra hands. Borrowing the power of the tailed beast? But I have also seen Jinchūriki fight, and no Jinchūriki has ever shown such a posture. And the power became so much stronger at this moment. Before, I could suppress him faintly, but now I can only fight against him. Naruto's 4 remaining arms. He channeled the scroll with both hands, used the sealing technique to seal all the black flames, and then used the return healing technique. Coupled with his own physique and the healing ability brought by the Nine Tails chakra. The wounds that were burned to the point of being almost visible to the bone healed rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. The last 2 arms were aimed at Itachi Uchiha. Naruto's eyes were fixed on him. This person gave me the feeling that he was much more dangerous than that shark face. Put your palms together and clap. King Kong blockade. The golden chains surged and rushed toward Uchiha Itachi. He seemed a little slow to react. He was tied up with 5 flowers and his body was tied up. Naruto took the opportunity, spread one hand over, and started chanting. "Oh the king! The mask of flesh and blood, the one who flutters the wings of all things and bears the name of man. Carve 2 lotuses on the wall of blue fire, and wait for the abyss of fire in the distant sky." In Uchiha Itachi's eyes, the Sharingan moved crazily. "I want to copy this technique. But this is not a ninjutsu, there are no hand seals, and you can't even see clearly the direction of the chakra surge." Kisame caught this cold aura. What is contained in this poetic language is by no means as quiet and elegant as it sounds. This is an extremely powerful technique. He slashed with his sword again and collided with the 9 tails. Instead of being separated at the first touch, he twisted his wrist and stabbed backward to firmly hold the red blade. Another ability of Samba's is activated. Suck chakra. He wanted to drain away Naruto's chakra at this moment, in order to achieve the effect of destroying this technique. But nothing works. Kisame looked horrified. The chakra in this blonde kid's body was extremely solid and extremely large. When Same had a bit it down, it was like a grain of sand thrown into the sea, and the ripples it caused were not even as big as the waves caused by the waves. A completely sung high number breaks the path. A bright light bloomed from Naruto's palm. The fireworks are intense. The 73 of the broken Dao, 2 lotus Kanghuo falling. Blue fire, as thick as a man's waist, penetrated the impact. The waterways were swept dry and the steam was overwhelming. At the critical moment, Uchiha Itachi's body suddenly spread out, making a flight of crows. Naruto was startled. Doppelganger? Not an ordinary clone. Every crow has the aura of Uchiha Itachi, which is a ninjutsu similar to Shadow Clone. When was the technique performed? Before the King Kong blockade? Thoughts are spinning and fighting is going on. The diamond chain was swung and whipped towards each crow accurately. One by one they turned into smoke and disappeared. But more of them came together and transformed into Uchiha Itachi's body again. But his condition was not very good, half of his face was burned and red. Kisame looked horrified. He wasn't in awe of Naruto's technique. Instead, he found that the knife in his hand began to undergo some changes. Each of Kirigakure's 7 ninja swords is very special and has unique and extraordinary abilities. There is no doubt that the big sword Samehada is the most special one. Unlike other swords with special abilities, Somkin can actually be said to be a living creature. It will choose its own master. The criteria for selecting its master depend on chakra. The more powerful the chakra, the more it likes it. After spending so many years with same muscle, he has figured out the nature of this sword. There is no doubt about it. It now likes the chakra of the 9-tailed Jinchūriki. It no longer obeyed its own orders to absorb Naruto's chakra, but instead spit back all the chakra it had just absorbed. It even eagerly wanted to feed the chakra stored in the sword back into Naruto's body. It's just that Naruto's body is exclusive, and its several attempts to input chakra ended in failure. Kisame was horrified and pulled the sword back. What's going on with this guy? Samehada had been with him for so many years, killed so many people, and absorbed so much chakra, but he never had the thought of betrayal. But as soon as I had a confrontation with him, this was the result. Let's fight a few more times. Wouldn't Samehada have to run away with him? Chapter 69, Spoils of War. Uchiha Itachi stared at Naruto's wounds that were almost healing. Feel his majestic chakra that makes you stronger as you fight. There is no invincible technique. There is no invincible person. But I have to admit that the current 9 Tails Jinchūriki is indeed a difficult guy to deal with. There are almost no weaknesses to be found. Of course, he was confident that if he used the ultimate technique of the Mangekyo Sharingan, and with Kisame's cooperation, he would be able to capture this Jinchūriki. But the question is it necessary to pay such a high price? The answer came almost instantly, and it was no. Uchiha Itachi was very aware of his situation. Every time he activated the Mangekyo Sharingan, it was a devastation to his body, pushing his already terminally ill body closer and closer to death. Sasuke is still young now, he hasn't grown up yet. This body of his should be kept at least until Sasuke grows up enough to be able to shelter himself from the wind and rain. Kisame, let's go. He made up his mind and called out. Kisame's attitude was also somewhat unexpected. He didn't hesitate or express any objection. The militant retreated simply. He immediately came to his side and agreed, let's go. Their intention to retreat was obvious. Naruto stepped forward, stepped on the air, and chased away. You want to leave without leaving anything behind. It is different from the two people who teleport on the ground and need to avoid obstacles. Naruto was in the air, walking in a straight line. Almost instantly, he caught up. Kisame turned around and clapped his hands to form a seal. Water escape, the technique of the giant shark bullet. He drew out the remaining water from the river that was almost completely dried by the broken path. The chakra condensed it into the shape of a huge shark, leaped into the air and pounced towards Naruto. Naruto slashed with his sword. At the moment when the blade of the knife comes into contact with the water, a huge suction force emerged from the body of this water-shaped shark, trying to suck up all of Naruto's chakra. But, unlike Samehada's sword, this technique, which is not controlled by anyone and does not have its own life attributes, cannot cause any interference to the chakra in Naruto's body. Naruto glanced away. The golden chain flew out from the palm of his hand, like meteorites flying down the rain, splashing ripples in the void, and quickly pierced the two people. Uchiha Itachi could dodge relatively easily with his Sharingan. Kisame was a little embarrassed. He dodged 4 or 5 waves, but when faced with the 6th one, his reaction was sluggish, and he was penetrated by the entire body and pinned to the ground. But Naruto frowned, there was something wrong with this blow. Not the ontology. Yes. Water body. Sure enough, the next moment, Kisame, who was pierced by the golden chain, made a splash and scattered on the ground. And from the water-shaped shark, half of Kisame's body jumped out. He completely hid his breath in the water, waiting for this moment, and quickly formed seals with his hands. Water escape, water prison technique. The shark shrank in size, split into half, and condensed into a water ball, imprisoning Naruto within it. Itachi, go away quickly, I'll hold him back. Kisame said softly. Uchiha Itachi didn't look back, he turned quickly and disappeared from the sight of the two people in the blink of an eye. Water prison jutsu is a relatively difficult problem for ninjas. A ninja trapped in the water will be bound by the body of water, unable to speak or form seals. If there are no adequate means of coping, they will remain trapped in the water prison until they suffocate to death. But to Naruto, the obstruction this technique can cause is only the moment it is performed. Give up singing. The 11th chapter of Breaking the Path, adorned with thunder and lightning. Golden lightning spread along the two swords in Naruto's hand, and with a click, it surged and overturned to the entire water ball, and then spread to the water-shaped shark and Kisame. The lightning paralyzed him, disrupted his movements, and disrupted the movement of chakra in his body. The spell can no longer be maintained. The water ball shattered, the shark disappeared, and Kisame fell from the sky. Naruto swung his sword and slashed at his neck. Kisame gritted his teeth and tried his best to flutter in mid-air, adjusting his posture to avoid his vitals. But it only saved him from death. With one slash, he cut off his left arm. Naruto pursued and had to make up for it with a second blow. Boom! The black flame suddenly came out and burned on his body. It's Uchiha Itachi. Naruto looked up, and in his perception, the man was already hundreds of meters away. How far can this Sharingan I technique be cast? As long as he can see, he can exert this black flame? He didn't abandon his teammates, he just chose a more appropriate and smarter tactic. This unquenchable flame made Naruto stop in his tracks. Kisame seized this opportunity and dived into the ground. The soil around him instantly softened like flowing water, and he quickly used this flowing sand to escape and swim away. Naruto wants to chase. The black flame can always stop in front of you at the right time. Naruto stopped pursuing, withdrew his liberation, and sheathed his sword. Pick up the arm on the ground, seal it back into the scroll, and turn around to go back. The seaside of the country of Whirlpool. Itachi and Kisame stopped escaping. He didn't chase us. Kisame frowned, took out the ninja tool bag with his right hand, found the ointment, disinfected and bandaged his wound. That kid is a bit too strong. Uchiha Itachi nodded. He agreed with this point. Take the information back. He said softly, see if you can analyze something. Kisame had jumped, a little dissatisfied, and parted with his favorite chakra. Kisame could only stop bandaging and inject his own chakra into it to calm its emotions. Your illusion that works every time doesn't work on him. It seems that only the leader can take him down. Uchiha Itachi didn't speak. He lowered his head and recalled the pair of purple spiral eyes. Let's go. After a while, he got up and went over to bandage Kisame. If he chases us later, it will be bad. The perception range of the Jinchūriki is larger than the Byakugan. They left by boat without delay. Naruto also returned to the temporary camp. The bonfire had gone out and was hastily buried by loose soil. Karen disappeared. In his perception, there were not many traces left. Karen, I'm back. He whispered. Karen was slow for a while before popping her head out of the building next to her. There was a lot of noise over there just now. Did you drive them away? They ran away. Naruto smiled and tilted his head to look at her. You came out so easily, what if I'm someone else pretending to be me? Karen pinched her waist and said confidently, I can sense the smell of chakra. Naruto, your chakra is very unique, it's something no one else has. A very warm feeling. This can't be faked. She walked to Naruto's side and was about to squat down and rekindle the bonfire. She turned her head and fell on his shoulder. Are you injured? Come on, bite me, she said in a hurried tone, lifting her sleeves. Naruto shook his head and pointed, no, it's almost healed. Karen looked carefully. The wound was healing at a slow speed that could be observed by the naked eye. You also have this physique. Karen nodded and rolled up her sleeves. I almost forgot that you are also from the Uzumaki clan. The bonfire lit up again. Naruto and Karen exchanged sealing techniques. Kagura Hard Eye is a very interesting technique, and Naruto is quite interested in it. Especially the ability of sensing emotions. It is almost the same as the ability he gained after releasing the sword Ashura. He remembered what Kyuubi said, Ashura is the ancestor of the Uzumaki clan. The ability of this technique, to a certain extent, proves this point. I hope that tomorrow's excavation of the stone tablet text can find some useful clues. Wake up the next day. Naruto and Karen are busy investigating the inscription again. The shrine is the place they want to find the most, but it doesn't seem to exist in the whole village. Or, the shrine once existed, but now it has disappeared, and the entire building has been moved away. Those empty spaces that are particularly eye-catching in the ruins are a good proof. You can see traces of buildings that once existed on them. At lunch? Was it taken away by the ninja villages that destroyed the Whirlpool country? Karen said with regret. Let's collect the useful things here first. Naruto held the scroll. The history of the Uzumaki clan is also very interesting. After we find the useful information here, we will find out which ninja villages destroyed the Whirlpool country. Then go to their village to exchange information. Karen nodded. Before he had even taken a few bites of the meal, a white smoke suddenly exploded beside Naruto. A red toad with goggles hanging around its neck appeared. Naruto reacted subconsciously. Chakra surged away. I'm not an enemy. The toad screamed in fear, I'm a correspondent from Mount Myaboku. Master Jiraiya has a message for you. Naruto restrained his momentum. What message? The red toad opened his mouth and spit out a scroll. Master Jiraiya has written it here. Naruto picked it up and unfolded it. There are a lot of words on it, a long and dense string. However, the message on it is nothing new to him. It is related to Uchiha Itachi and Shark Face who attacked him last night. Jiraiya said in the letter. They all came from an organization called Akatsuki. This organization consists of a total of 9 ninjas, with a small number of people, but the biggest advantage of this organization is that it is small and elite. The 9 people are all S-level criminals who are wanted by major ninja villages and have serious problems. The purpose of this organization is currently unknown. They have been collecting techniques before. And just a few days ago, Uchiha Itachi and Hokage Kisame broke into Konoha and injured Sarutobi Asuma and Yui Kurane. They didn't wake up until today. They also brought a message. The purpose of these 2 people breaking into Konoha was for the legacy of the 4th Hokage. Chapter 70. I refuse. Naruto asked the toad named Kusuke to take his message back. He did not write a long letter, but simply explained the situation last night and reported the results of the battle. Although he failed to kill Uchiha Itachi and Kisame, he also let them leave something behind an arm of the shark-faced man. Konoha. Jiraiya, who was sitting by Asuma Sarutobi's window, received the reply and his face sank. Master Jiraiya, what's wrong? Kakashi was also guarding in the hospital. Sasuke suffered a more severe mental blow than Asuma Sarutobi and others. He has not woken up yet. Now seeing Jiraiya's expression change, his heart skipped a beat. Jiraiya's voice was heavy. Naruto has already encountered them. His emotions were as chaotic as a tangled hemp rope. He had just promised Naruto that he would not be late. But just a few days after the words were spoken, the information he passed on was one step late. It was almost meaningless to pass on the information after he had already encountered it. Information that was one step ahead was good information. Kakashi was stunned. He realized that it was Jiraiya's expression that made him misjudge. Since Naruto could reply, it means that he is in good condition. Naruto escaped. He asked carefully. Jiraiya shook his head. Naruto did much better than we expected. He didn't just escape. He fought back the 2 men head-on and even cut off one of Hokage Kisame's arms. Kakashi opened his mouth. He had fought Uchiha Itachi head-on. The pressure that man brought to him was not inferior to Orochimaru at all, and it could even be said to be stronger. But even with this kind of strength, with the addition of Hokage Kisame, Naruto fought 1 against 2 and achieved this level. Naruto has become much stronger again. Kakashi let out a long breath. From weaker than himself to stronger than himself. If you calculate carefully, it took Naruto just a little more than 4 months. He didn't even stop at the step of as strong as himself. The teacher's son has surpassed him. He is still standing there with the achievement of a 12-year-old. I'm leaving. Jiraiya said softly, standing up. I wanted to see if I could use this reason to get closer to Naruto. It seems useless. He has done a great job. Then I should worry about other things now. Kakashi stood up with him. Are you going to find Tsunade-sama? Jiraiya nodded. Konoha needs a cage now. Kakashi, I mean if Tsunade doesn't want to come back, the position of cage needs a reliable person to take over. He didn't say it very clearly, but everyone in the room knew what he meant. Konoha is now qualified to be the Hokage. Excluding Jiraiya and Tsunade among the 3 ninjas, the next ones are Narashikaku and Kakashi. The latter is more suitable than the former, after all, he is younger and more powerful. As for the man who was temporarily deprived of the status of senior advisor and kept clamoring that he was the only one qualified to be the Hokage. He is the one who is theoretically qualified but the least qualified. Jiraiya, the senior ninja class, and the senior advisors don't want to see that after someone becomes the Hokage, the golden-haired Jinchūriki will return to Konoha and carry out the Orochimaru Konoha collapse plan again. Kakashi responded, yes, I know. He turned his head and looked out the window. It was already summer, and the shadows of the trees were lush and green, so lush that the green of the leaves was a bit dazzling. On the island of Whirlpool Country, Naruto and Karen enjoyed the days of digging for information at the ruins of Whirlpool Village. It's just that the progress is a little slow. They searched for inscriptions in the morning and interpreted them in the afternoon. The two worked together, and they could only interpret 4 or 5 inscriptions every day. And at this time, Jiraiya embarked on the journey to find Tsunade. It's not easy to find Tsunade, one of the 3 ninjas. But it's easy to find the legendary big fat sheep. In less than half a month, Jiraiya found her trace in a town where casinos are relatively prosperous. In the tavern, the two sat opposite each other. A young woman with short hair and holding a pig sat next to Tsunade. Is she the niece of Duin? Jiraiya looked at the young woman and greeted her. She has grown up so much now. I remember her name. It seems to be Shizune. Jiraiya, don't talk so much nonsense, you seem to be deliberately looking for my whereabouts. Tsunade waved her hand impatiently and asked, what's the matter? Jiraiya said softly, then I won't beat around the bush. The village hopes you will serve as the 5th generation Hokage. The old man Sarutobi can't work anymore. Does he want to retire? Tsunade laughed mockingly, he seems to have been the Hokage for almost 30 years. Isn't he trying to hold on? Jiraiya's face was heavy, don't you know about the 3rd generation Hokage? He was killed by Orochimaru some time ago. Tsunade was stunned. The news made her dazed for a moment. Really? She lowered her head and took a sip of wine. Jiraiya held out his hand, so are you willing? Tsunade did not answer immediately. Shizune tilted her head and looked at her silently. Memories swirled in Tsunade's mind, and several faces kept flashing and replaying in front of her. One was a face that looked somewhat similar to her, but younger and young. It was the face of her younger brother, Nawake, who died at a very young age. He went to the battlefield just after graduating from the ninja school and eventually died under the detonation tag. The other was an adult male with long silver hair. It was her former lover, Kato Dan, who died in front of her during the war and on a mission. There were also some other faces, all of whom were people she had known when she was still a ninja, but who had died. I refuse. Tsunade shook her head and uttered a word from her mouth. Jiraiya's heart skipped a beat. He scratched his head and pretended to smile cheerfully, this reminds me of the past, when I confessed to you, you rejected me in the same way. But the Hokage's confession is different from mine. Can I ask the reason? Tsunade turned her head and looked out the window, whether it's Sarutobi-sensei or my 2 grandfathers. And the most talented 4th Hokage. They have given so much to the village, but have they brought any changes? So that's why. Hokage is nothing at all, only a fool would want to be one. Jiraiya opened his mouth. It was still the face that made him admire more than 30 years ago. At this moment, it became a little strange. It's different from before. He said slowly, Danzo is no longer a high-level advisor. Tsunade was a little surprised, did Orochimaru kill him as well? No. Jiraiya shook his head, it's just because of a very interesting kid. He has a talent that is comparable to or even better than Minato. He has the potential to change the village. The reason why Danzo was deprived of his status as a high-level advisor is also due to his influence. Look, Konoha's seedlings are also growing. A talent that is comparable to or even better than Minato's. Can it still influence Danzo? Tsunade looked at Jiraiya. But the man opposite dodged and didn't dare to look directly at him. Lying? Which part? You and I both know that the identity of a high-level advisor has almost no meaning to Danzo. Tsunade continued with her guess, does the Umbu training department in his hands still exist? Jiraiya didn't answer, and gave the answer in silence. Tsunade raised her eyebrows. not lying about this aspect. Where is the brat you said who can rival the fourth Hokage? Tsunade put the wine glass on the table. If there is such a guy, you will bring him to me. Just like Minato did back then. Jiraiya lowered his head and looked away. Tsunade narrowed her eyes. Lied about this aspect. So there is no such brat at all, right? Tsunade said softly. Jiraiya shook his head, his tone firm. No, Naruto is of course real. It's just that he is not in the village now, he is traveling. Tsunade laughed mockingly. Traveling. These two words sounded particularly frivolous when spoken from her mouth. You left because you couldn't stand the village, right? She expanded these two words. Jiraiya didn't speak again. Silence is the best affirmative attitude. Even the seedlings you mentioned can't stand leaving the village. Tsunade laughed, a mocking laugh. Why should I go back? Jiraiya said firmly. Naruto left the village to find the legendary Pure Land. Tsunade stopped laughing. He has some special talents. Jiraiya continued, you should have heard of the forbidden technique of the Uzumaki clan, right? Tsunade nodded. Her grandmother was from the Uzumaki clan, and she had heard her talk about it when she was a child. Jiraiya said, Naruto did not sign a contract with the shinigami, but he can see the shinigami. He wants to find the Pure Land and find his parents. He is the child of Minato and Kushina. Now. It's just an accident. I will definitely bring him back to Konoha later. The two words Pure Land made the two faces in Tsunade's mind clearer. What a fool, looking for something that doesn't exist in the legend. Tsunade grinned and laughed mockingly, but her voice was much softer. Jiraiya took the opportunity to extend his hand, so go back to Konoha. While he is still young, we still have the ability to protect his thoughts. Tsunade shook her head, more decisively than before, I refuse. When can you bring the little devil who is looking for the Pure Land back to Konoha, then I will go back. She was very straightforward. Jiraiya sighed, huddled in the chair, and his back became a little hunched in an instant. Really? Is this your answer? Tsunade nodded. Her attitude was very firm. For the next few days, Jiraiya stayed by her side and continued to persuade her. But it didn't work at all. Chapter 71. Myth and Origin. Naruto and Karen stayed in Whirlpool Village for more than 2 months before they copied all the inscriptions in the village. During this period, they received some letters from Jiraiya. Some hoped that he could return to the Land of Fire. There were also requests for him to attend the ceremony of Heitei Kakashi's succession to the 5th Hokage. There were also some miscellaneous contents. Most of them were rejected by Naruto. Only when Kakashi succeeded to the 5th Hokage did Naruto summon a shadow clone to congratulate Kakashi. But the original body still stayed in the Land of Whirlpools to study these inscriptions. Most of the valuable things have been taken away by other ninja villages. Most of the things left here are some myths and history. Recorded on the inscriptions. The Uzumaki clan is the descendant of the Six Paths Sage. They experienced some things during the Warring States period. Finally, the clan leader Uzumaki Ashina led them to establish a ninja village on this island and signed a friendly contract with the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, to become a part of Konoha. The record of the Shinigami on the inscription is independent of the history of the Uzumaki clan. It is a very ancient god. During the Warring States period, the Uzumaki clan found it and signed a contract. It can be summoned by performing a spell to harvest the souls of the enemy. Of course, the price of doing so is to sacrifice the user's soul together. It is really old. The inscription does not specify what period of god it is, but there is a passage that clearly states that it is older than the Six Paths Sage. Staring at this line of text, Naruto frowned. Six Paths Sage? I seem to have heard of his legend. He is the first user of chakra. He is also the one who brought chakra to this world. Karen nodded. The myth of the Six Paths Sage she had heard of is also like this. If we follow this myth, Naruto continued, then everything that belongs to chakras should only come after the Six Paths Sage. Then the existence of the Shinigami should not be older than the Six Paths Sage. Is the record of the Uzumaki clan wrong? But the inscription clearly states that the Six Paths Sage is the ancestor of the Uzumaki clan. It doesn't make sense that there would be mistakes in things related to ancestors. What a pity. The country of Whirlpools was destroyed 20 years ago. Otherwise, if we ask the elders of the clan, we can directly understand more clearly and more certain content. The text materials here do not record any knowledge related to the technique of the Shiki fusion. Karen flipped through the copied text and eliminated those relatively irrelevant contents. The only useful information may be this. She pointed to a line of text. The sacrifices offered to the shinigami will be absorbed and stored in his stomach, instead of going to the Pure Land after death like normal souls. This short line of text contains an enormous amount of information. Pure Land. Naruto repeated the two words. Is this the name for the place that holds the souls of the dead in this world? It seems that the ninjas are not as ignorant of souls as he thought. They have known about this for a long time, but this should be quite niche knowledge, and he has never heard of it before. And more importantly, the meaning of this sentence. The soul that has used this technique will be stored in the belly of the evil ghost. In this way, even if he finds the Pure Land, he may not be able to find the souls of his parents. They are sealed in the belly of the shinigami. Where are we going next? Karen sorted out these scrolls, arranged them one by one according to their importance, labeled them, and sealed them one by one. Naruto thought for a moment, let's first find out what these gods are like. After we find out what they are, we'll find that guy called the shinigami. Karen paused, speaking of which, shrines that worship gods are not uncommon. I saw some when I was in the land of grass. It seems that there are also many shrines and temples that worship gods in the land of fire. Naruto nodded. Speaking of this, he remembered that when he was performing D-level missions in Konoha before, he had seen some shrine maidens and monks from the capital of the land of fire coming to Konoha. Their status is much higher than that of ninjas. They can communicate with those nobles and rich businessmen on an equal footing, or even at a high position. Then let's go to those places first. Naruto finalized the itinerary. They packed up their things and left the land of whirlpools. He took a look at the small village that he had saved before. Their lives have not improved much. Although the little boy had not yet refined chakra, his body had become visibly stronger. When Naruto and Karen were on their way in the land of fields, the hidden sound village, in an underground secret base, Kabuto Yakushi stood in front of a white-haired boy. Didn't you bring Sasuke back? The white-haired boy saw that there was no one around him, only one person came back, and said calmly, "You are so incompetent, Kabuto. Don't say that to me, Kimimaro." Even though he was scolded, Kabuto Yakushi still smiled, and he didn't look angry at all. Sasuke was not convinced by Lord Orochimaru's power. I persuaded him many times. Even after he was injured by Uchiha Itachi, he risked being discovered by Konoha and broke into the hospital. Even that didn't persuade him. He doesn't seem to trust Orochimaru. The boy called Kimimaro narrowed his eyes, chakra surged, and instantly appeared in front of Kabuto, stretched out his hand to cut, and his nails extended as sharp as a blade, leaving a bloodline on his neck. Don't blame your incompetence on Orochimaru. Yakushi Kabuto smiled and held Kimimaro's hand, then forgive my incompetence. Do you need me to try again? The security of Konoha is very strong recently. If I break in again, I may have to wait for a while until they relax. Kimimaro pulled back his hand and snorted coldly, Lord Orochimaru can't wait that long. He paused and looked down at his body, I can't wait that long either. Yakushi Kabuto narrowed his eyes, his glasses reflected the light, and was obscured by his expression, do you want to call Lord Orochimaru back now? Kimimaro looked at him coldly and said nothing. Do you need my help? Yakushi Kabuto took the initiative to ask, I am also an excellent medical ninja. Kimimaro refused, no. I am enough. He got up and walked into a room. Yakushi Kabuto narrowed his eyes, stared at the door, and tried to recall. That room seemed to contain the experimental subjects collected by Orochimaru from all over the place. Of course, Orochimaru's experiments are not as simple as natural materials, but also include some children who have special bloodline limits picked up from various places. Is the method to call back Orochimaru similar to the reincarnation technique? I really want to see it. In the room, Kimimaro swept his eyes over these experiments and selected one of the children with the curse seal planted on his body. Take out a piece of flesh and blood cultivated in the nutrient chamber and paste it on the curse seal. Seal with both hands. Evil eliminating seal. Chakra surged, flesh and blood twisted, and grew into a snake head in the blink of an eye. The python opened its bloody mouth. A man crawled out of it. Kimimaro, give me a hand. The man raised his head, and it was Orochimaru. Kimimaro stretched out his hand carefully. This is one of Orochimaru's life-saving methods. In each curse seal, there is a trace of his will. As long as the curse seal is removed, Orochimaru will be resurrected from it. The only drawback of this technique, that is, Orochimaru's will in the curse seal cannot be actively exerted, and he can only wait for others to take action. A loyal subordinate like Kimimaro. Or something. A smart person who noticed the nature of the curse seal. Lord Orochimaru, I. Kimimaro opened his mouth and reported the information when Orochimaru landed. Orochimaru shook his head, I heard everything in your curse seal. No need to say more. It's a pity that Sasuke was not captured. I can't wait any longer. Kimimaro responded. He helped Orochimaru out. Lord Orochimaru. Yakushi Kabuto immediately came up to greet him. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue, licked his lips, and said frivolously, I am really surprised by your performance, I thought you would not be such a loyal person. I am really touched. Yakushi Kabuto's face was full of fake smiles, my loyalty to Lord Orochimaru is no less than Lord Kimimaro. Orochimaru sneered, don't say such things, prepare a new body for me. This one now, can't be used. There are quite a lot of bodies suitable for reincarnation stored in this base. One day later, Orochimaru, who had done a physical transformation for himself, sat in a wheelchair and was pushed in front of the mirror. His face was wrapped in bandages, and his expression could not be seen clearly, but his eyes were full of resentment and anger. The third Hokage is really a good trick. After reincarnation, his hands were still unusable. Shiki Fusion. This technique, which he had never heard of before Sarutobi Hiruzen used it, sealed the souls of his hands. It was a curse imprinted on the soul, and changing the body could not break it. Therefore, if he wanted to recover completely, he had to find a way to break the technique and release the souls of his hands. Kabuto Yakushi stood behind him, his face calm, and his presence was low, like air. Lord Orochimaru. Kimimaro pushed the door and walked in. Orochimaru turned around and looked at him, you should be resting now. My body is running out of time. Kimimaro looked calm, Kabuto checked me and found that even if I do nothing, I only have a few months to live. Rather than dying in bed, I want to do more for Lord Orochimaru. Please approve me to go to Konoha and bring Uchiha Sasuke back for you. Chapter 72. Bones and Snakes. Uchiha Sasuke. This name made Orochimaru's eyes fluctuate. He was silent for a while, it's meaningless to catch him now. Reincarnation is not without restrictions. If you want to reincarnate again, you have to wait at least 3 years. Please, Lord Orochimaru, let me shine a little light for you in the last moments of my life. Kimimaro begged. Orochimaru looked up and glanced at Kabuto Yakushi, Kimimaro, I really hope you are a healthy person. I am willing to pay a lot for this, even if I seal my feet again, I am willing. Kimimaro is really his most satisfied subordinate. Loyal and powerful. And he has a very rare bloodline limit corpse bone vein that can be compared with the blood Sharinon. It's a pity. He is seriously ill, an incurable disease that even he can't do anything about. Lord Orochimaru. Kimimaro said in a heavy tone, it is my body that is holding you back. Orochimaru stopped talking and thought silently. His feelings for Kimimaro did not affect his judgment. Since you have such a request. After a long while, he spoke, then do me one last favor. Do you know Uzumaki Naruto? Kimimaro nodded, he is one of the culprits who caused you to become like this. Find him. Orochimaru said softly. Although he was killed by Naruto once, he was not so gnashing his teeth when talking about his enemy. His voice and tone were even a little happy. Then try to see if you can bring him back. If you can't do it, tell him that I want to discuss a cooperation with him. His father, the fourth Hokage, also used the technique of Shiki Fusion and was sealed in the body of the Shinigami. If he wants to release the soul of the fourth Hokage, come to me in the land of rice. I can also teach him the technique of impure world reincarnation. Kimimaro agreed, a little excited, yes, I will fight for my life for Lord Orochimaru. Orochimaru looked at him. His eyes were nostalgic and heavy. Kabuto, you and Kimimaro together. He added an order softly. Kabuto Yakushi was stunned. This is a reward for loyalty. Orochimaru grinned. Kabuto Yakushi replied, yes. They prepared and set out. It was not difficult to find the whereabouts of Naruto and Karen. The two of them did not hide their traces and traveled openly. In half a month, they visited 7 temples and shrines, and they worshipped different gods. The shrine near the seaside worships the god named Ebisu. The several inland shrines worship gods such as Konoha Sakya-hime, Oyamatsukimi no Mikoto, and Okunanushi no Mikoto. These shrines are very prosperous. There are many believers, and countless people come to pray every day, and even some ninjas can be seen. But the results of Naruto's communication with these shrine maidens and monks were not very satisfactory. They knew nothing about the origin and existence of these gods. At most, they would say something like the origin of these gods is older than the Six Paths Sage. Even in Karen's perception, many people who say this are lying. This does not mean that the content of those paintings is false, but they do not believe this sentence in their hearts. People who worship gods are not necessarily pious. This is Naruto's biggest gain in this period of time. The Land of Fire, a prosperous town. In a barbecue restaurant. These people are too unreliable. Karen couldn't help complaining, if those believers knew, they would tear them apart. Naruto smiled and shook his head, maybe those believers want to tear us apart. Karen tilted his head, a little puzzled. Naruto took out the map without explanation. According to the direction we are heading now, we will reach the capital of the Land of Fire after 2 more towns. The temple there should be more reliable. Karen picked up the chopsticks and naturally put the meat on Naruto's plate before picking up another piece for herself. I hope there will be some useful information. While they were talking, Naruto raised his head and looked at the door. 5 not unfamiliar chakras walked in. Among those 5 chakras, there was one that noticed Naruto the moment he entered the door and barked. It was a white dog with brown drooping ears. Naruto. The boy riding on the white dog read the meaning of the bark, glanced at his head, and met Naruto's eyes. It was Konoha's teammate. The leader of the team was Yui Kurane. The one riding on the head by the dog was Inyazuka Kiba, the girl with white eyes beside her was Hyuga Hinata, and the slightly weak but densely packed Aberame Shino. Kurane ran into Naruto and felt a little embarrassed. When Naruto left the village, she was the first to speak up to stop him. But she didn't expect Naruto to be the son of the 4th Hokage. Compared to her, Kiba Inyazuka was much more natural and greeted him cheerfully, "Naruto, long time no see." He trotted over and sat down at the table next to Naruto. "Teacher Kurane, this way." Hinata also wanted to go over. Shino Aberame never had any opinions, so he didn't object. Kurane could only follow and sit down. "It was just a coincidence that I bumped into Class 8 here. They had just completed a C-level mission and were preparing to have a barbecue to celebrate." Inyazuka Kiba was very enthusiastic towards Naruto and asked him about his welfare. Yui Kurane tried to speak as little as possible, but in order to express her apology, she took the initiative to settle the accounts of Naruto and the others. "Wait until you finish eating. Naruto, are you really not going back to Konoha?" Inyazuka Kiba stood at the door and looked at Naruto. "I haven't seen him in just a few months." He found that Naruto seemed to have grown a lot taller. In the past, he had to lower his gaze, but now, he had to raise his head slightly to look directly at his face. Hinata huddled behind Yui Kurane, her eyes were eager but she hid them. She also stared closely at Naruto. "I'm not going back." Naruto shook his head, "I still have important things to do. I wish you all the best in your ninja career." Inyazuka Kiba opened his mouth, scratched his head, and just nodded, "Okay, but if you have a chance in the future, remember to come back to Konoha to see us. There are still many people in the village who are concerned about you." Naruto responded, "Well, I will visit you if I have the chance." They waved goodbye. The 2 groups of people were heading in different directions. "That little girl with white eyes seems to like you a little bit." Xianglin spoke coldly and uttered these words. Naruto was startled, and he thought for a moment, maybe it's because I defeated Tsunagakure during the Chunin exam. Ya is also very enthusiastic towards me. Xianglin shook his head and looked serious. "I'm not talking about the kind of love between friends. It's the kind of love between men and women. When you like someone, your eyes and demeanor are different." Xianglin is 100% confirmed. The girl named Hinata is just reserved and shy, and doesn't seem to show much, but she definitely likes Naruto. During the meal, she secretly glanced at Naruto 87 times, an unusually high frequency. Really? Naruto scratched his head and didn't take it seriously, so it turns out that I can be liked by girls too. Xianglin was stunned, sighed, and kicked the gravel on the roadside. This guy is unexpectedly an idiot. Outside town. We found Uzumaki Naruto. Kabuto Yakushi asked Kimimaro beside him, "What are you going to do?" Just as Kimimaro was about to speak, he coughed twice and spit out 2 mouthfuls of blood. "I don't have much time. Just be direct." He paused, looked at Yakushi Kabuto, and said with a hint of warning, "This is my fight for Lord Orochimaru, and you are not allowed to interfere. If I can defeat him, you take him back. If I can't, just come out and carry out Lord Orochimaru's second order." Kabuto Yakushi nodded, "Don't worry, I won't interfere." He reached out and handed over a pill. Kimimaro narrowed his eyes at him. "Don't worry, a medicine that can temporarily stabilize your physical condition will also shield you from pain." Kabuto Yakushi explained, "Of course, after you take it, there is almost no hope of returning alive." Kimimaro didn't hesitate, took the pill, put it away, and left immediately. Kabuto Yakushi looked into the distance expectantly. Naruto stopped and looked in one direction. "Is someone here?" Xianglin stopped, closed his eyes, and used Kagura's heart eye, sensing a powerful chakra coming in their direction, it seems, not to the level of Orochimaru. This half-month in the Fire Country. In the first few days, there would still be some blind ninjas coming to the door. There are some umbu from small countries. Or a rebel ninja on the run. They all want to catch Naruto in exchange for some money, or master the resource of Tailed Beast. Although Konoha has already released the news, Uzumaki Naruto had the ability to kill Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas, and left the village just to practice. Tsunagakure village also spoke out to support them. This was one of the compensations they made for their failure in the Konoha collapse plan. The remaining 3 major countries were all strangely silent, and no action was heard of them. But these small countries and rebels don't really believe this rumor. A kid who is only 12 years old possess the ability to kill the Sunin? Who believes it? But after being killed by Naruto, they finally believed that no one would come looking for them in the past few days. Don't talk about catching this blonde brat. Even trying to get close to him is extremely difficult. There will always be some people whose greed defeats reason. Naruto shook his head, "Xiang linear." The red-haired girl nodded, "I know, I will hide." She jumped away from Naruto. Kagura heart eye. Concentrate your chakra. After a moment, a figure landed on the branches of a nearby tree. Naruto looked. He is a young boy with white hair and strong chakra, but his physical aura is extremely weak. "Have you discovered me?" He lowered his head and spoke softly. Chapter 73. Curse Seal and Chakra. Naruto looked at him, smiled and said, "Since you want to deal with me, should you respect me? Don't ask such stupid questions every time. That doesn't make you smart." Kimimaro held onto the tree trunk with a cold expression, "I'm sorry, I just underestimated your perception. However, I should be different from those people you met before." "I'm here for Lord Orochimaru." Naruto asked, "Avenge him?" "Lord Orochimaru is not dead." Kimimaro shook his head and his tone was very cold, "It's just that he needs you. It would be best if you are willing to go back with me and serve Lord Orochimaru. If you don't want to, then I can only force you." Naruto shook his head, how could he agree? Kimimaro stopped talking, took out the pill and swallowed it, then jumped down from the tree and chopped it down with his palm. The wind is howling. It was clear that the sword was not drawn, but in the palm of the hand, there was a sharp blade like a knife slashing down. Naruto raised his sword to attack. There was a clang of impact, and sparks flew out. In the field of vision, his movements were frozen, and he could clearly see what was in his palm. It's a bone blade. Bones pierced from the palm of the hand. Blood inheritance limit? Kimimaro continued to attack, not only in his palms, but also in all parts of his body, and bones could suddenly be stabbed out. Slash, thrust, sneak attack. Every tiny movement can turn into an effective attack. This ability to manipulate bones it will makes him a killing machine. but after several exchanges, Naruto reached out and grabbed the bones in his palm. Chakra surged, and the golden rope spread, running from the bones to the hands, climbing up the upper arms, and binding the whole body. Abandon the bound path of chanting. The fourth way of binding is this rope. Kimimaro struggled, his bones were pierced, and the golden rope restraint became tighter and tighter. If this was a performance, I would applaud your dance. Naruto pulled on the rope and raised the knife, but this is a battle. This kind of blood inheritance limit is really eye-opening. But your performance does not please me. Kimimaro has strength, but not much. It's about the same level as Momokai Zabuza. That guy was indeed a very good opponent in the past, but for Naruto now, this kind of strength is only barely qualified to stand in front of him. My strength is not as good as yours. Even at this moment, Kimimaro still didn't have much panic on his face. He spoke in a soft tone, but the gift that Lord Orochimaru left in me. Let you see my true form. Naruto paused in his swing of the sword. He looked at Kimimaro with surprise in his eyes. This is... What's going on? From the back of Kimimaro's neck, where the curse seal of the Sanba pattern was planted, a powerful chakra burst out. But this is not his own chakra. In other words, it has a completely different nature from the chakra that Naruto knew before. It absorbs the free energy around it, extracts it through the curse seal, and finally feeds it back to Kimimaro's body, making his chakra aura stronger. It also caused some changes in his appearance. Black lines were all over his body, densely packed like blood vessels. But after blinking, these black lines seemed to be blurred, dipping Kimimaro's originally fair skin into a dark color, with huge bone spurs emerging from his back, and even a thick black tail. The whole person is alienated. His appearance became evil and ferocious. But the feeling that this kind of power essence brings to Naruto is not as evil as it seems on the outside. It is simply energy. What kind of technique are you doing? Naruto asked. Kimimaro clenched his fists. This is the power given to me by Lord Orochimaru. Let my last dance make my final contribution to Lord Orochimaru. He didn't scream angrily, he just said these words calmly. The increase in strength brought by the curse seal allowed him to break free from the constraints of the golden rope. But he did not rush into an attack. Stand on the spot and form a seal with your hands. Early fern dance. A bone spur emerged from the ground, thrusting sharply. Like bamboo shoots after a rain in early spring. The second and third roots shot up from the ground immediately. It is getting thicker and taller, and its range is getting wider and wider. Naruto jumped lightly and stood in the sky, letting the bone forest grow under his feet. In the direction of town heading towards Konoha. A bear Meishino suddenly stopped, reached out to catch a bug, and said, "The bug told me that Naruto seems to have encountered an enemy." The others took a few steps forward before stopping again. Which way? Hinata asked. A bear Meishino said nothing and pointed in one direction. Hinata opened her eyes and looked over there. What kind of enemy did Naruto meet? Inyazuka Kiba asked anxiously. Hinata trembled and shook her head. I don't know, I can't see who Naruto is fighting, but that forest has been completely destroyed and occupied by bones, huge and numerous bones. Bone? Destroy the forest? That must be a very strong enemy. Inyazuka Kiba's tone became more urgent. Teacher Kurane, let's go quickly to support Naruto. Yui Kurane hesitated, an enemy who can fight Naruto. Now Naruto just left Konoha, but he did not defect. Inyazuka Kiba said, his voice and tone were very firm, even if he is not a Konoha ninja, he is still our friend. Without him, Konoha would have been destroyed by Orochimaru during the Chunin exams. Teacher Hong. Yui Hong looked at the other two people, what do you think? Me. Hinata clenched her fists, I want to save Naruto-kun. The words Naruto said that day when he stood in the sky hurt the hearts of more than just Jiraiya and Kakashi. And Hinata. She had liked Naruto a long time ago. I just don't dare to express it as openly as Yunika Ino and Haruno Sakura. To put it nicely, she was shy. But to put it harshly, she was actually watching Naruto's misfortune in silence. He didn't dare to go up to comfort Naruto when he was sad. Don't dare to help him when he is being bullied. He was not even as good as Jiraiya and Kakashi. Although they were late, they arrived anyway, but not to mention arrived, he didn't even do such a small thing as taking the first step. Shino Aberame nodded her head. Yui Hong took a deep breath and said in a firm voice, Class 8, Temporary Mission. Support Naruto Uzumaki. Task Difficulty. Level A. Set off. The four of them turned around and rushed towards the bone forest. They haven't left the town too far yet, and the distance is not big. When the 8th team arrived, the bones were still growing densely, and the rumbles continued. Their purpose is clear, that is to chase Naruto in the sky. What kind of technique is this? Inyazuka Kiba exclaimed. From Hinata's description, it's hard to tell what the scale of the bone forest is. Just destroying the woods. This is not something difficult to do. Inyazuka Kiba mastered 1 or 2 ninjutsu that could destroy the forest. He also believes his 2 teammates can do the same. But what I saw in front of me was completely different from the destroyed forest I imagined. It covers an entire forest. The bones tower, bloom, and are poignant. Like funeral. Hinata, Shino. Kurane Yui was also stunned for a moment, but after all, she had been a ninja for many years, so she immediately calmed down and said, look for the enemy. Yeah, get ready and come with me to support you. Her command was silent. Suddenly, a voice came from behind her, no need, Naruto will easily deal with an enemy of this level. Yui Hong was shocked and turned around holding the kunao. His field of vision was occupied by red hair. It was the Uzumaki clan who followed Naruto. She took a deep breath to calm down. This person. When did you come? Why didn't he feel her breath? Isn't she a genin who failed to pass the second round of Chuunin and failed by abstaining? How come she has grown to such an extent now? What class 8 is best at is perception. Shino's bug, Kiba's dog, Hinata's eyes. Didn't you even notice her approaching? What do you mean by what you said? Yui Hong asked. Xianglin shook his head and smiled, in front of Naruto, if you don't have the strength to confront him head-on, and you can't hide your aura, you are not qualified to fight him. Class 8 was silent. Look at the forest of bones. It grows taller and taller, glowing with cold light and sharp. This is not considered a power that can confront Naruto head-on? Above the sky, Naruto stood, I also expect you to show me more things. But this is still the result. That curse seal of yours just made you bluff and blow your hair. It's so boring. He formed a seal with his hands, and golden chains surged. One of the lashes penetrated the nearest bone. There was a roar. Bone fragments fell and bone fragments flew. But Kimimaro was not harmed. Its breath quickly shuttles through the bone forest, and it can dissolve into any bone. Golden chains cross and chase. Pierced through each bone, gradually reducing the range of movement until the last huge, towering bone spur was like a small mountain peak. Naruto walked away in an instant. Lift up the 9 tails and pierce it. With a lift of his wrist, the bone mountain split into 2 and cracked. Kimimaro was revealed hanging on the blade. The sun is coming. The 2 became silhouettes in the eyes of others. One person stood upright in the sky, raising his sword to pick up an enemy who was much larger in stature. Class 8 was silent. Kimimaro used his last bit of strength, and the pills in the pharmacist's pocket allowed him to breathe. He raised his hand, grabbed the Kuobai blade, grinned and whispered softly, Uzumaki Naruto, I have something to please you. Place. Naruto said nothing and looked at the back of his neck. The curse seal is the most interesting thing he showed. Kimimoro's head sank. He also wanted to say hello to Lord Orochimaru. But, it's too late. Chapter 74. The Farthest Distance. Kimimaro died with a smile on his face. He was very satisfied that as a subordinate of Lord Orochimaru, he died under Lord Orochimaru's order. Rather than die in that warm and comfortable hospital bed. This is the best result. Naruto did not fall back, but stretched his perception to the maximum. He stared at Kimimoro's body. Before getting the written records of Uzushio village, he did not know the concept of Pure Land, nor did he think that the soul after death could directly enter the Pure Land without going through any procedures. Place. This is different from his understanding of being a shinigami. But now, with cognition, you can observe. Suddenly, a thin, almost invisible soul force quickly emerged from the earth and tugged at Kimimoro's soul. Once enveloped by that power, Kimimoro's soul became equally difficult to detect. Then he shrank down, and his strength and soul disappeared into the ground. Faster than the blink of an eye. No wonder I didn't feel it before. But what is that? It's not like the power of the evil spirit named Death. There is also a bit of chakra smell. A god in charge of the Pure Land? It was so fast that even though I paid so much attention, I couldn't feel its breath properly. What kind of existence are these things? Naruto landed and sealed Kimimiro's body. This person's purpose did not seem to be to capture him and bring him to Orochimaru, as he said. Instead, he uses the last remaining light of his life to show something. Class 8 and Xianglin arrived. Why are you here? Naruto was a little surprised when he saw the 4 people around Xianglin. Yui Kurane raised her hand, grabbed the back of Akamaru's neck, and said in a brisk tone, "It was Shino who sensed that you met the enemy. Both Kiba and Hinata insisted on coming to support you. I just didn't expect it. Naruto-san doesn't need our help." Naruto smiled. The spell performed by the man just now was somewhat interesting, so I observed it. Thank you for making you worry. Yui Hong shook her head. No need to say thank you, we didn't help. Naruto looked in one direction, then we leave first. He took Xianglin and was about to leave. Hinata mustered up her courage and shouted, wait a minute, Naruto-kun. Naruto looked back at her. She took a deep breath, I like you. Naruto-kun. Hinata knew that now was not the time to say such words, the time was not right. But she vaguely felt. If you don't say this at this time, I'm afraid I'll never have the chance to say this again in this life. Yui Hong was surprised. Inyazuka Kiba and Aberme Shino were equally surprised. Naruto smiled brightly, Xianglin really got it right. Thank you for your likes. This is the first time a girl has said such things to me. Even when he was in Soul Society, as the captain, he had never been confessed to by a girl. It was not because he was not attractive, but most of the women in the squad regarded him as a younger brother or someone younger. Children to look at. How to deal with Naruto's answer? Is this rejection? Yes. Hinata was at a loss. Before that, just liking made her very satisfied. She had not expected an answer. Naruto. Is this the response you gave? Inyazuka bared his teeth, and Akamaru followed, baring his teeth at Yui Kurane's hand. Naruto scratched his head and said frankly, I haven't thought about these things, so I can only say thank you. I've never been in contact with Hinata before. I'm also surprised that she likes me. Hinata opened her mouth, but in the end nothing came out. Naruto waved goodbye to them. Naruto is a great person now. Kurane Yui patted Hinata on the head, if you want to be with him, you have to catch up in his footsteps. Hinata said nothing and lowered her head. On the other side. You refused too simply. Xianglin tilted her head and looked at Naruto, that girl is quite cute. Naruto shook his head, I don't know her. And? Like is a very long distance. She's over there, I'm over here. What can she see clearly from such a distance? Xianglin looked at Naruto with some confusion, far distance. She has never communicated with me. Naruto said softly, the me she likes is a combination of what she sees and what she expects, and it only exists in her imagination. And looking at someone with expectations will only make them beautiful and distorted. Just like I once expected Kakashi, but he turned out to be something else. Xianglin nodded thoughtfully. She was wondering, was she looking at Naruto with expectation? It seems not. My liking for Naruto came about after his actions. That's no problem. She smiled with satisfaction and followed Naruto, but not long after, she looked in the direction of the branch. Naruto, we seem to be going the wrong way. This is not the way to the next town. Naruto replied, that's right, we're not going to the next town now. I'm going to meet an acquaintance. Acquaintance? Xianglin tilted his head, were those ninjas like that just now? The road is not far away, and it doesn't take long to arrive. In a clearing in the forest, the white-haired man raised his head and gently pushed his glasses, Naruto-kun, you are indeed here. The smell is so overwhelming, how could I not feel it? Naruto stood on the branch, Orochimaru is resurrected, right? Kabuto Yakushi grinned and said, you're really sharp. Lord Orochimaru has been resurrected. Kimimaro is a gift, Naruto-kun, do you like it? Naruto sneered, Orochimaru's gift is to send a militant over and slash me with a knife. Then I should give myself as a gift to Orochimaru. Does he have the guts to accept it? Yakushi Kabuto spread his hands. Kimimaro is a loyal subordinate who worships Lord Orochimaru as a god. His ideas are somewhat different from ours. Don't talk about this anymore. Lord Orochimaru wants to cooperate with Naruto-kun. Naruto raised his eyebrows. Cooperation? I have no interest in destroying Konoha at the moment. After all, it was my parents' home. Kabuto Yakushi shook his head. No, it's not about destroying Konoha. It's those powers you have mastered, Naruto-kun. Lord Orochimaru is very interested in those things. Naruto pouted and raised his hand. Kabuto Yakushi's expression was not as relaxed as before. He was a little nervous. He raised his hand and spoke faster. Naruto-kun, don't rush to attack me. Please listen to the conditions given by Lord Orochimaru first. He can provide you with the art of reincarnation in dirty soil. Naruto was unmoved. Kabuto Yakushi continued, Master Orochimaru invites you to study the technique that seals the corpse ghost. In terms of technique research, Master Orochimaru is definitely the most powerful ninja. The corpses are all gone? Naruto looked a little moved. Kabuto Yakushi breathed a sigh of relief and his tone gradually softened. Besides, whatever you want to obtain, Orochimaru-sama is willing to discuss it with you. As one of the Sunin, the knowledge Orochimaru has accumulated over the years is an immeasurable wealth. Naruto took his hand away. That sounds pretty good. The only problem is, Orochimaru, now, do you have the guts to see me? Yakushi Kabuto raised his hand and pushed his glasses gently. Don't underestimate Orochimaru-sama. Are you leaving with me now? Naruto nodded. He and Xiangren temporarily adjusted their plans and set off for Tien country. After a whole day's journey, they arrived at Otagakure village. Of course Kabuto Yakushi didn't take them to the underground base. Instead, he was led to a conference room in Otoyan village. Wait a moment. Kabuto Yakushi pushed Orochimaru and walked out of a secret passage. It's been a long time, Naruto-kun. The man in the wheelchair, wrapped airtight in bandages, said, I'm so glad you can come to see me. You look really miserable right now. Naruto said softly. Orochimaru grinned and said in a low voice, thanks to you and the third Hokage. Where's Kimimaro? Naruto took out a scroll, the guy who uses the bone blood successor. He's here. Orochimaru's eyes flashed. Naruto-kun is so merciless. He is the last user of corpse vein. Naruto played with the scroll. I want to take his body back and see what you can give. Orochimaru leaned his head forward. What do you want, Naruto-kun? Do you have any research on gods? Naruto asked a question. Orochimaru was stunned. God? Are you talking about those mysterious powers other than ninjas? Naruto nodded and placed the scroll gently on the table. So there is research. First answer a question for me. I have been staying in the Kingdom of Whirlpool some time ago, collecting those lost inscriptions, which contain contents that puzzle me. The shinigami worshipped by the Uzumaki clan is older than the Sage of Six Paths. Could this be a false record? Orochimaru sneered. Naruto-kun is really surprising that he is interested in these things. I really know a little bit about these things. The records are not wrong. The birth of these gods is indeed earlier than the Six Paths Immortal. Naruto's eyes were serious. Xiangren pulled out the scroll and wrote down Orochimaru's words. Before there was the power of chakra, people and those powerful beings used a power called natural energy, which can be called immortal power. Those gods were born based on these powers. But after the appearance of the Six Paths Sage, the existence of these gods was limited to shrines and temples, or some secret groups. Speaking of which, I happen to know a guy who has been blessed by a certain god. I can introduce him to Naruto-kun. Naruto shook his head, trying to figure out the words natural energy in Orochimaru's mouth. Then I have to ask my second question. After a while, he spoke. Chapter 75. Transaction. Naruto pointed to the scroll. This person was fighting me. A technique called Curse Seal was used. Orochimaru grinned. That's an invention I'm very proud of. But I'm a little disappointed. Naruto's expression did not change and his tone was calm. Orochimaru's smile froze. That curse seal can mobilize a very strange power. Naruto said softly, it's different from chakra. But he just used that power to enhance his own chakra, which makes me feel a little sad. I'm still excited to see what he's going to do with that power. Is it developed based on tailed beast transformation? Orochimaru's expression softened slightly. So, Naruto-kun is disappointed in this aspect. This is because the curse seal technique is, to a certain extent, a poor imitation. But the object of imitation is not the tailed beast transformation that Naruto-kun thought he was. Naruto pushed the scroll closer to Orochimaru. You always make me feel like you don't look like a child. Orochimaru tilted his head and glanced at Yakushi Kabuto. He walked over and put the scroll away. Orochimaru continued, I don't know, Naruto-kun. Have you ever heard of becoming a sage? Sage? Naruto was stunned, is it the Toad Sage or the Six-Path Sage? Of course it's Jiraiya's kind. Orochimaru replied immediately, but from the look of Naruto-kun, you haven't seen Jiraiya's sage mode. Naruto nodded his head. Orochimaru sighed with emotion, speaking of Jiraiya's sage mode, it's really an amazing thing. Remember what I said about natural energy. Sage mode is a special state entered by mixing natural energy with your own chakra. The curse seal is modeled after it. Naruto said nothing. I thought carefully about what Orochimaru said just now in my mind. Naruto-kun, if you are willing, I can also plant a curse seal on you. Orochimaru said, grinning, his sharp teeth seemed to be flashing with cold light, although it will take a certain risk. But with Naruto-kun's strength, there will definitely be no problem. Naruto looked at him calmly, if I want to master this power, then why don't I learn Sage Mode from Jiraiya? I will use a poor imitation like you. He took out what Orochimaru had just said. Orochimaru was not angry, and just grinned. Naruto-kun just said that he was in the Kingdom of Whirlpool some time ago, and he didn't know how many techniques related to the corpse sealing technique he collected. Can you let me see it? Naruto formed a seal, channeled the scroll, and pushed it over. Kabuto Yakushi came over and replaced Orochimaru's hands, unfolding the scrolls one by one and showing them to Orochimaru. Orochimaru looked excited at first. But the more he looked at it, the more his brows furrowed. After 4 or 5, his expression became impatient. Is this all, Naruto-kun? Orochimaru said in a low voice. Naruto's face was calm, in stark contrast to him. Xianglin and I have rubbed all the inscriptions. That's it. Orochimaru sneered, mockingly, it seems that those people have completely wiped out the Kingdom of Whirlpool. Which countries participated in the operation to exterminate the Kingdom of Whirlpool? Naruto asked, I remember that you are over 50 years old this year, so you should be very aware of the demise of the Kingdom of Whirlpool. Orochimaru said in a relaxed tone, except for Konoha and Tsunagakuer, other countries are more or less involved. Kirigakuer and Kumigakuer should be the ones who contributed the most. What, Naruto-kun wants to avenge the Kingdom of Whirlpool? Naruto shook his head, when I meet the Uzumaki clan in the future, I will ask them for their opinions. If they want to, let them do it themselves. This made Orochimaru stunned. What do you mean by meeting someone from the Uzumaki clan? This family has been wiped out, and only some bloodline remains, surviving in major ninja villages and small countries. What qualifications do those fragmented forces have for revenge? I just want to know which villages may have techniques to seal away ghosts. Naruto continued, then go and ask them for things belonging to our Uzumaki clan. That's all. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and looked at Naruto. I have another question to ask you. Naruto continued, it's related to Xiao. You see what I have to pay to get information about this organization from Xiao. Orochimaru's pupils expanded, and his voice became distorted for a moment, Akatsuki. How did you know about this organization? Why are you interested in this organization? Naruto waved his hand casually, they came to me some time ago and handed me over once. It feels like they're not going to let it go. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and asked with interest, who is the person who attacked you? Naruto-kun is really capable of escaping from that organization. Itachi Uchiha and a shark-faced man named Kisame Inakazaki. Naruto announced the two names. One of the names made Orochimaru's expression change. Uchiha Itachi. It was the name he least wanted to hear in his life, and the person he least wanted to face. Under those eyes, I had no dignity. I was able to escape from the hands of the two of them. Orochimaru sighed from the bottom of his heart, and I was able to take this Uzumaki clan with me. Naruto interrupted him, it wasn't me who escaped. It was them who escaped. That shark-faced man also lost an arm. He made another seal, summoned a scroll, unfolded it, and released the seal. A light puff of white smoke. A fresh blue left arm with blood flowing from the broken end appeared on the scroll. Are you interested in this thing? Naruto pushed forward. I remember that in the information that Jiraiya teacher gave me, it was said that this guy named Hoshigaki Kisame had the nickname of Tailed Beast without a tail. Orochimaru raised his head and looked at Naruto. In his fiery eyes, there was curiosity and exploration. Itachi's illusion is superb. How did you break it? He spoke, his tone was hot and eager. The illusion cast by those eyes is not something that ordinary people can compare with. Naruto nodded in agreement. Itachi's illusion is indeed superb. I don't know when it will be launched, and it can deceive my senses and make it look real. But there is a simplest way to break the illusion. Orochimaru immediately reacted, Naruto-kun, you are the Jinchūriki. Will the Nine Tails be willing to help you? Naruto just smiled and said nothing. He didn't need to answer this question. The answer was of no value to Orochimaru, and he couldn't get any useful information from him. Orochimaru looked at Naruto. The Jinchūriki does have a unique advantage in breaking illusions. This method is no longer useful to him. Kisame's arm is a very valuable material. He suppressed his desire to crack Uchiha Itachi's eyes and faced a more realistic problem, but this thing alone is not enough to exchange for information about the Akatsuki organization. Naruto whispered, what else do you want? Naruto's sword. Orochimaru spoke, spitting out half a sentence from his mouth. Naruto interrupted him, if you want to experience the feeling of death again. I don't mind doing it here. Orochimaru smiled and changed the subject, Naruto, don't get excited, since the sword is so important to you. Can you take out some of your spells that use the word spirit? Before in the Death Forest, he was not particularly interested in the spells in Naruto's hands. But now it's different. I lost both hands, and as a ninja, I no longer have the ability to make seals. If I can't make seals, it means I can't release ninjutsu. Naruto turned his head and looked at Orochimaru's hands on his knees. The value of the transaction does not only depend on the value of the object itself. I'll give you 2. Orochimaru shook his head, 2 is too little. Orochimaru, you are not qualified to negotiate the price now. Naruto said lightly, I am not in urgent need of information about the Akatsuki organization. But you are different. Orochimaru grinned, you are really taking advantage of the situation, Naruto-kun. Yes. Naruto nodded and responded with a smile, without any embarrassment, our relationship is just like this. You should be happy that I am just taking advantage of the situation now. Instead of killing you again at this time,